Hey, Joseph.
Yeah.
Did you see the last episode of Game of Thrones?
Yeah, I'm really kind of...
You know, I want to say the one thing I'm really excited about is that I won't have to hear people complain anymore ever again about some kind of pop culture event. I'm really looking forward to just the calm
Little
of the
peace and quiet.
Little peace and quiet.
New Star Wars, December.
Ah, crap. Hello, and you're listening to You Still Going On About That with myself, Rob Israel, and
Joseph K.
And you can find us on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, Castbox, and Podbeam. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it. Tell your mom about it. And while you're at it, we also have a Facebook page. You Still Going On About That. Again, like it, join it, comment, share it. And thank you and enjoy. I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
that?
Okay, so yeah, the last episode of Game of Thrones came out.
Yeah.
We were talking about doing a Game of Thrones episode. I figured we should just wait till the season's over.
Right.
You guys are probably another Game of Thrones bitch fest episode or whatever.
Right,
it is,
sure.
Game of Thrones. You've probably seen 1,000 of them already. Everybody's tweeted about it.
People are angry.
People are real mad for some reason about
issues.
Yeah, a lot of issues.
Yep.
A lot of misplaced issues.
Yes, I did.
A lot of horrible things going on in the world, but that Game of Thrones is doing should get a medal from the man that runs the world, because they'd be
Sunday night
thank you for the distraction.
Yeah, I felt as if there were millions of souls crying out in anguish and then suddenly extinguished.
It's kind of funny how much Star Wars people are comparing. I've heard so many people say they are Rian Johnsoning Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones has been Rian Johnson.
Right.
It's been a
we're
Big
childhoods
Johnson.
Violated.
The show made for mature rated,
right?
NC-17 rated show. Raped my child. Wait, that makes no sense.
No,
but you know what I mean. Yeah.
People were angry. There's apparently a petition out with a million. Right. Okay. So what was your gut feeling on the we'll talk about the season, but the last episode.
I didn't think it was the worst thing ever. I didn't hate it.
It was fine.
I've been watching the show from the beginning. I didn't read the books.
Okay, I read the books.
I know there's people who read the books, and we talked about this. One, they didn't finish the books.
No, can't.
The whole plan was that HBO wanted 10 seasons. What are the guys' names?
George R.R. No, the two. I just know them as D&D.
Weiss. And whenever people say D&D, I'm always confused because I think of Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, D.B. Weiss and
D.B. Cooper.
Donnie. Yeah. Hey, I'm Donnie.
Well, okay, they're two. One of them has, I think, D in his first name, and the other, whatever. The two. And
they're supposedly going to be doing the next Star Wars trilogy that's going to come out in 2021 or 2.
Sure.
I think they're going to do an Avatar. So instead of a Star Wars movie coming out a year, they're going to do an Avatar movie every year.
Oh.
So every other year. So Avatar 2. Star Wars 1,
right,
or whatever it's called, Electric Boogaloo.
Yes.
Star Wars, the Return of
the
or I have a theory what the Star Wars is.
Okay.
I know we're on a Game of Thrones thing,
right,
and I could see why they would cast those guys. I have a feeling that this Star Wars movie is going to take place very far.
In the
past.
Okay.
Yep.
Like Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yes.
That's my theory.
That is a really good theory.
I didn't read anything. I have no inclination of
why.
I just feel like Star Wars is this huge thing. Instead of going forward, they should go way
past,
back.
Right.
Origins of the Jedi or something. Go way back and avoid all. And that way you avoid all references to Yoda.
Right.
Or maybe they could have Baby Yoda in it.
Yeah.
Where he's like...
Right. Like a Muppet's Baby Yoda.
Like a Muppet Baby Yoda. Yeah,
that would be
great.
Right,
and the baby
yes.
He should literally wear a diaper and a bonnet.
And there should be animal. you just see the legs and feet of like the babysitter or whatever, and he's always trying to get out.
Yeah.
To go on adventures.
Yeah.
Today I must go.
But I'm like, what is that?
Well, okay, so I think I like that, but we're going to jump back to Game of Thrones.
Okay. So it was supposed to be 10 seasons.
Yes, right.
And while they were making season 1, the 5th book was already out.
Yeah,
and the 6th. There's 2 books that never came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
There's
every
2 left.
year he kept on saying he was going to release the 6th one. And every season, as it got closer, we were like, okay, dude, what's going on here?
Right.
They thought there was enough time that the books would be done by the time the show made it to... And then around season 5 or whatever, they said, listen, we're not doing 10 seasons. We're doing 7. HBO stretched it out to 8. So that's why you really got... I think season 7 was only like 7 or 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Season 8 was 6 episodes. So
it was like a Sopranos type of rollout.
Yeah, and you had to wait a couple extra years. There was a lot of special effects. It's kind of crazy. This show, the one thing I find interesting about this show is that this show really should not have existed the way it did.
What do you mean?
Well, because of how big it got. Like, how successful this show was.
Oh, it was huge,
If you watch that first season, I remember when they first announced it, I was really not feeling it. I was like, this looks like fucking Lord of the Rings. Like
it was
like
a tough
it
sell,
looked like a boring Lord of the Rings from the previews.
Sure.
And I was like, oh god, I'm not really feeling this. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna watch the pilot, the first episode. And it's pretty crazy. I remember watching it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. But then right when the very end, Jamie pushes Bran out the window. Right. Well, you see Bran in the beginning of the episode, he likes to climb up.
Yep.
He's like a little peeper.
You know? He's a little scamp.
Well, it makes sense. It's kind of funny. He's able to like peep on everything now.
Sure, yeah.
He's like...
Oh, yeah. That's funny, yeah.
Yeah. So he sees Jamie. So you're introduced to all these characters.
Yep.
You're introduced to
the Starks and the Lannisters.
And Ned Stark is the main star.
Yes, yeah.
He's billed as the main star of the show.
Yep.
And then you get to meet Dany. You get to meet all the different characters. You get to meet different storylines. Everybody's really spread apart. And... You're introduced to the Lannisters.
Yes.
Right from the start, they're evil.
Oh, yeah.
They're the bad guys. There's no hiding it.
Right.
Cersei's a bitch.
Yeah, clearly.
Jamie's an asshole.
Yep.
Joffrey, right from the get-go. And it's funny. Joffrey, at midnight I was like, oh, God. He was the kid from Batman Begins. Do you remember Batman Begins?
Yeah.
There's like a little kid in the end.
You've told me this, and I'm
drawing it's like when, like... The Scarecrow is like doing something for the city, and they're in like the poor area,
right.
And like Joffrey, the kid who played Joffrey, is like a little kid in it. And I remember hating this kid so much. This was like a weird moment in comic book movies back then, where the studios felt like they had to have a moment where a child was there, and the hero would interact with the child. I don't know why they did this. They did it like in Hellboy. They did it in several other movies. There would always be like a scene with a little kid. Sure. I don't know. Was this like a weird, like, to get kids to look up to the hero?
Yeah.
Very unnecessary scenes.
I'm sure it was a focus group type of
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I remember him being in Batman Begins, and I hated it. And I think after that, I never saw the little kid in the movie again.
Yeah.
I know there was a little kid in Iron Man 3, but that's done very well.
Yeah, I don't often want to, like, throttle little kids, but the Joffrey kid is, like, he was clearly either...
he was a little
actor,
shit from the get.
Yeah,
when you see him as Joffrey from the get-go, and I already knew he was from Batman Begins, so I already hate this kid. And the kid was supposed to be like a little sweet kid in that one, which was funny.
Right.
I don't know why I hate him. I think it's just his face or something. I hate your fucking face. God damn it. People hated that character.
Yeah.
He left acting. Right?
I
think he left. Yeah, he left acting. Supposedly he went off to like do like. Build houses or something. Like
Good for him.
Yeah, like he wanted nothing to do with acting. Like being Joffrey. Joffrey was the most hated character.
Yeah,
and
he was terrible. Well, okay, so
Jamie,
Jamie and Cersei,
they're fucking, and their brother and sister.
Yeah.
So that was like a big, and then Bran sees it,
right?
Because he's peeping through the window.
Yes.
Jamie
casually
sees him and just pushes him out the window.
Yeah.
and you think and it just and he says the things I do for love, and that's when I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna watch this show.
Yes,
I was ready to like not care, and right those last 2 minutes, I'm hooked on the series.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I generally, when I watch a show, I want the genre elements. I want, in a show like this, I would want, a dragon, or they're fighting the White Wall. I would want like those fantastical elements. But you're right. It was
there's no fantastical elements in the series from the beginning.
Well, they do. They open up on the scene of the White Walkers.
Right. You do see that. Well, they don't really show them. You see, like, I guess you kind of, right?
You kind of do. I mean, I want it. Gosh, it's been a while, but maybe it's in like an Evil Dead fashion where you take the perspective of the White Walker.
You talk about the first episode.
Yeah, the very first episode. See, when I first heard about this, I read the books before.
Well, whatever they did, it wasn't like this insane special effects. It didn't have like a giant fire-breathing dragon.
It was mysterious. It was like this
winter's
is
coming and
supernatural, but not like crazy supernatural.
Right.
But anyway, I normally look for those elements, but in the books and in this series, it was that human drama that really kind of captured me. And you're right, it was all these characters and what the fuck are they doing?
I remember talking to someone at my old job years ago. When it first came out, I was living in Chico, and I remember talking to this one guy, and he told me, because they introduced the direwolves, and they're just little pups at this point.
Right.
And I remember the guy was like, no, these things get gigantic. And I was like, ooh. And he's like, there are dragons in this show. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
and I was like, but I didn't think, I'm like, there's no way that a TV show is going to make them look good. Like, I'm still, still like, what, it came out 2011?
Yeah, sounds about right.
So, you didn't have anything super amazing yet, special effects wise, on TV.
Right. I was thinking
everything's always been like human dramas, or nothing ever looked great. Anything that involved like a big fantastical character, I always think of the CGI from the show Hercules.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was thinking like the best at that point. The best I'd seen probably was the dragon on the last episode of Angel. The TV show Angel.
And that was like done with the shadows.
Yes, it was in the dark. It was only for a second. But yeah, the CGI from Hercules or Xena or any of those.
So I just didn't think that. So the fact that this show was so popular,
right,
that it's like the fans, it got so big. And I remember working for a company, and they were trying to get the license, and we were talking about, and they said the messed up part about it was, I guess, if like 8 million or 10 million people were watching it on HBO.
Yeah.
Double that's how many people were stealing it too.
Oh yeah.
And they knew it. It didn't matter. It helped the show. Even if people were stealing it, because they would buy the merchandise,
right.
They would buy it. Became very
profitable. HBO used to say they didn't care if someone like stole HBO.
Oh, I'm sure they care.
Oh, I'm sure they care too. But that was how I first started watching it.
Brought to you by HBO.
I purchase HBO now legally.
Good to know.
Back the first time I watched it, a friend of mine loaned me the DVD set, and that's how I watched the first season. And then my little brother had HBO Go or HBO Now or something like that, and I streamed it for an episode or two and a season or two, and then I purchased it.
Do you remember when season 1 came out? The DVD, they ended up pulling it because there was a head on a pike. It was George W. Bush's head on a pike.
Oh,
and they had to
familiar.
Destroy every.
Yeah.
Supposedly they had to go back. I don't believe this, but they went back and destroyed any copy that was out.
Right.
That wasn't purchased yet.
Yeah.
And
well,
it's like 1 second of you see, and no one It's funny because what was the big thing this year?
The Starbucks cup,
and then also in the last episode,
water bottle,
2 water bottles.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about the second.
What about that RB sandwich that John was eating? I thought that was weird. He's like, I need my horsey sauce. I thought that was really bizarre.
Yeah.
I wasn't. That took me out of the episode.
It does.
I'll have 2 roast beef sandwiches, please.
Right.
And I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
And then he looked to the camera and said, "We got the meats."
Yeah.
It's just really out of character.
That took me really out of the show. I hated it.
I was hooked very quickly. I read the books and I watched, and I was worried that the show was not going to do the books justice. And I quickly, and I still hold by this, I was like, look, this is a different thing, but it's a very good thing.
So what happens in the very last episode you see with Danny?
You see Danny coming out with the dragon.
And that's CGI baby dragon.
Yes.
And they look good.
They looked good.
Yeah.
And it's a great scene. And it is, and that's when it really gets magical, like in the sense of like,
things are already starting to like magic's starting to go back. So I think like in the show, like they talk about things like they talk about these are all myths and legends. They talk about the White Walkers because like the way the first season is structured, they use like Tyrion, played by Peter Dinklage. He goes on like the way they introduce all like the major cities or whatever, except for the ones that come later,
right?
For the ones to the first season, Peter Dinklage's character for some reason goes on like a tour.
Yeah.
He goes to like the Wall,
right?
He goes to like some other area with that crazy lady that was like breastfeeding her kid till like he was
the moon, where the moon gate was, the veil
with the big hole in the ground. Yep. He goes there. He goes to like several different spots. It's almost like they're using him as a guide,
as a tour guide,
as like for the person who's never been to the world of Game of Thrones or what's it called, Winterfell.
Westeros is the continent,
right? Europe.
It's basically Europe. Yeah,
Westeros. So they use him as your guide, and you get to see all the different lands. And he brings up things and myths. He says, the land of the White Walkers.
Yeah,
because like no one's seen a White Walker supposedly in like 2,000 years, supposedly.
Yeah, it was, right.
And there's talks of dragons. They mention it. They mention all these different things. It's like magic like took a break or something.
Right, but they're confident. I mean, you never get the idea like that they're saying maybe these things happen. They're confident that these things did happen. They just don't happen anymore.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like laughed at too.
Right. Like, and you're right, because people are you get the idea that like the average citizen is beginning to think these things never happened.
Yeah.
And the learned people are confident that these things did happen.
And like they say winter's coming.
Yeah, that's the
They say that right from the first episode.
But that's twofold. That's all, and I could be conflating the books with the show. But winter's coming.
I want the books out of the picture. I want to talk about the books because everybody that was watching this last season kept on bringing up the fucking books.
Right.
And I was like, but the books. The show strayed far from the books.
True.
There's characters that never made it into the series. There's things that they did, like, right from the beginning, like Cold Hands.
Right. Oh, yeah.
The mom.
Right.
With the red wedding.
Lady Stoneheart.
Yeah, she never came back.
Right.
They didn't use...
I
just think let's just focus on the series.
Even in just the show.
They keep bringing up these magical books, like, as if the books existed, the last 2 seasons would have been great, my life would have been complete, I wouldn't be angry.
I firmly believe that. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, people, like, they're treating it like that if these books existed, the shows would be magically better. I love the complaints. Everyone's making these complaints about the shows being, like, they felt rushed. But, okay, so let's say the show went 10 seasons.
Yeah.
People be complaining, when's the show going to fucking end?
Right. They'd say they're milking it.
You can't make anyone fucking happy.
No.
You can't. Everybody would be, like, dragging around. I always made a joke and said that, and this was around, like, season 2 or 3. I said, the one thing I hated about Game of Thrones was I felt like you had some really good scenes, but then it would just be fucking, what's his name, Sam?
Yes.
Fucking sitting there talking, peeling potatoes.
Well, I'll tell you.
I don't need more peeling potatoes.
No, but let's jump. I mean, real quick. I think the winter is coming. That was both a specific warning about like a specific future event, i.e. the White Walkers, but it was also the Starks' view of the world. Right. The Starks always had this kind of like bitter Scandinavian, like, look, winter's coming, that's why you get your shit in order, because things will get bad.
And we need to be ready for it.
Right, and that's like my grandparents were like that because they lived through the Great Depression.
Right.
And they had like a winter is coming attitude.
Make sure you have your jams and pickles and jars.
You know? Well, they were the kind that are like, don't... if there's like a small amount of food on your plate, they're like, don't throw that away. Winter's coming.
Why do they always say when there's a storm coming, get milk and bread? And I'm always like, those are the 2 things that go bad.
Yeah, they're the last things. You want, like, energy bars and bottled water.
Yeah, like, you want shit that's going to sustain you and last. Milk and bread is your first, like, 3-4 days.
Right. And, okay, well, so in the shows, I just had...
the one thing about the show, and I always find it interesting, especially with the pilot, you introduce to the Starks, and you see all the family. And I always thought Theon was part of it, and then I realized he wasn't. Theon was just like
he was a ward.
Well, supposedly he was like a prisoner.
Well, they used to do that, like, back in... Because I'm getting a little afield here, but this is kind of loosely based on the War of the Roses era feudalism.
Okay.
And it used to be that, like, if you and another... if you had a person that you were in charge of, like, let's say you're the feudal lord and you have, like, a vassal on some other plot, you would take his firstborn son into your house as, like, a guest, but also as, like, ransom. Like, don't fuck with me because I got your kid here.
Yeah.
But he's part of us now, so we're all cool.
Yeah, because like, Ned was like from the beginning, Ned's a good guy. I mean, the one thing, he's a good guy, but he is also fucking executing people with swords.
Well, that's
he is cutting people's heads
duty,
off.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
he's doing it, though, so he's good, but he's not, like, a saint.
Well, if we're
fucking chopping heads off right
if we're gonna go, like, Dungeons and Dragons version D&D, he's lawful good. Okay. Like, he has a rigid... He's more... he's going to stick to the rules. And if the rules say you got to lop a head off, then Ned's going to do that. Because that's what the rules say.
Right.
And whereas, like, a more nuanced person, like a Tyrion, who's ostensibly a bad guy initially, he would be like, well, is this really fair? And
it's kind something we should be doing.
It's almost like they subvert your expectations. Because...
that's the other two things. Subvert your expectations, and what was the other one everyone was complaining about?
Oh, jeez.
Plot armor.
Oh,
these were all buzzwords I heard all season. Subvert your expectations,
right.
Which I think started getting popularized as an insult to Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Okay, sure.
That's when I started. It's like Mary Sue was something I heard after Force Awakens.
Yeah,
we've talked about these are like little things that get used. Yeah. Plot armor and subvert your expectations were used like by everybody who hated on this last season of Game of Thrones. So we're not going to go through the whole series, but like that first episode, the one thing I always found interesting was, do you ever see it's a famous Kurosawa movie, and all those Kurosawa movies are really just like updated takes or whatever, Japanese movie takes on Shakespearean plays.
Right, yes.
The one, is it King Lear? It's the one where like the father has like 4 sons, and it begins with him with all his kids, and then the kids all kind of end up... It's like they're all together in the beginning,
right? And
they all go off in their different paths, and they end up all killing each other in the end.
That may be King Lear, but King Lear had daughters.
Okay, I don't remember the Kurosawa movie.
Right. I just remember, like, he did the Seven Samurai, right? Like, was that him?
Ran or Ron? I don't know how you would properly pronounce it. It's literally spelled A-R-A-N,
right? Or
some kanji that I don't know how to pronounce. I think in the end, it still says Ran or Ron.
Right.
Well, that, like, you see this elderly father and his 3 kids, and that's in, like, the beginning, and he, like, sets these parameters, and they all make a promise to, like, kind of stick to them, and the whole movie just, like, ends up being, like, they end up going to war with each other. But not to say that the Starks did that, but they all kind of, you get this moment where they're all there in the beginning.
Yes.
And then every one of them, right from the beginning, they're kind of, like, sent, like, introduced to Jon Stark. He's a bastard, and like the wife of Ned Stark, Caitlin hates him because you're told from the beginning that they would call him They would call him Snows in this land. That Ned went off to war and
he had a kid,
a little frisky. And so of course Caitlin hates that, which is weird. She should.
Yeah,
but then you find out much later in the series that Ned was actually covering for his sister.
Yes.
And he could. And it's almost like he was so noble and so good that he even became kind of maybe that gave him some street cred, like, sleep around.
Right.
Do back hey, I'm Ned. I'm a bed. Hey, what are you going to do?
Right. When you're a jet all your life.
Robb Stark was the oldest, who I hated from the get-go. I knew it. I knew that he was not going to be the king. When he died, I was not shocked by it. I'm like, there's no way this asshole's going to be.
See, I thought he was going to be the real deal. And again, I mean, I
Robb Stark?
Yeah, well, and again, I don't want to get into
I had no
books,
opinion. I just had no opinion of it. But I knew right from the get-go that he was not going to be the guy.
I had a different experience with the show because
we're not talking about the books.
I know. I'm
books
just saying, like,
removed. We are.
So
I never touched a book. I don't know what they are. I don't even know what a book is.
Well, in the show,
my favorite book is Fahrenheit 451.
Because they burn books.
Because I hate books.
Yeah.
I rooted on.
Least favorite character in Firefly? Shepherd Book. So you do look. The show does a great job, and we're going to jump to
I'm
that.
kidding. I like
last
books.
season.
I like books.
We're going to jump to the last season shortly.
Okay, yeah.
But they do
a lot of stuff happens.
They hook you quickly, and
each season just gets bigger and bigger. That's the thing.
The world expands.
The world expands, and the show grows. The audiences grow. But the one thing that happens is that they put everything into the show. When the dragons look good from the start, they're little babies, so it's easy to deal with. And as the budgets get bigger and the dragons get bigger, and the show never looked bad. Like it's like it grew with you. I rewatched the entire series last year. Or I started doing it 2 years ago. I started rewatching it, and then I finished it again earlier this year. I took a break and then finished it because I wanted to get caught up. I would watch it, but I would miss a lot of details.
Well, and I forget. You know, it's like,
but I just didn't. I don't think I was paying 100% attention all the time. You know,
right?
It wasn't. I'll be honest with you. It didn't really grab me until season 3. The one thing. I think this is why it's all about pacing and character growth, and why people hated season 8. Things felt rushed. It's like they were on a train now. It's like they got to speed
it up. They
had
to wrap it up, yeah.
But they, like I said, I know people complain, and it's so funny because if they said, "Oh, I don't like it," they shortened it. But come on, if it was 10 seasons, people would be complaining when's this shit gonna end? They're dragging us out. They're padding it out. You gotta get that perfect balance. Fine, maybe instead of 6 episodes, you got 8. But fine, you got 6 episodes this last season. Yeah, those first 2 episodes felt like nothing happened.
I'll tell you, I think the complaint is twofold. One is that the last season felt rushed, but it only feels rushed because they took their time on so many things that ultimately weren't consequential in the earlier seasons.
And I also feel like they took their time because, again, they didn't have as big of a budget.
Yeah, but
they had to use dialogue. It's almost like writers have to be creative to cover up for the fact that they don't have the budget to do certain things.
But what about Arya Stark, one of the really cool, interesting characters? Ultimately, what was her time in the Faceless One's temple all about? Nothing.
It ended up being about nothing because she only uses it one time when she kills
Walder Frey. Yes,
which
was awesome.
And it was amazing scene because he knew something was up because she killed him, and then the next season begins. You forget that, and you see Walder Frey with all his sons and everything.
Right.
And then he's tells the woman you can't have the wine, but it just sounds like because he's a sexist old prick.
Yeah.
But in reality, it was because she wanted to kill all the men.
Right.
And she takes it off, and it's her the whole time, and you forgot that.
Yeah.
And do you know what I loved about that too was when she kills Walder Frey in the end of season 6, he eats a pie with his son.
With his kid's hand in it.
There's a story told in season 2 about a man eating a pie with his sons.
Oh, okay. I forgot about that.
Yeah, because when I rewatched the series, now I could be wrong, guys.
Right.
I don't know what season this is. This is early in the show.
Yeah.
You're going from the end of season 6. This is like season 1 or season 2, where someone is telling him a tale of a father who ends up eating his sons in a pie.
Right.
And I thought that was amazing.
That's funny.
That was a great
continuity
thread, and how these tales that people were telling and they're kind of living it, the mythology.
That's funny.
And I thought that was super awesome when this old asshole is eating the pie, is filled with his son, and she's serving it, and she was told that story, so I'm almost like,
I
got a good idea. I remember someone told me a fun little ditty about an old man eating a pie full of his sons. I think I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And some nerd is going to remember.
Well, I think, look, that worked. I mean, but the Arya...
it ended up being kind of pointless.
The only reason I'm pissed with the last season going so quickly is because, man, it seemed like they wasted a lot of time on things that ultimately weren't that important.
Well, it's I think that's what happens with a lot of shows.
Yeah.
With a lot of... Now, there wasn't a lot... There weren't enough payoffs. They could have... There's no reason why they couldn't use Arya's, face powers for something else. The one episode I hated the most out of the whole season... Season 8.
The last season,
last season. I thought 1... I honestly don't even remember 1 and 2. 2 was just everybody getting ready to, like, they're all having, like, their little
Yes,
moments.
right.
That's when Arya
Calm
has
before the
sex
storm.
with that guy.
Gendry.
Brienne gets
Yep.
on with Jamie.
I thought that was...
was that it? No, that was after. Brienne and Jamie's after... what's that?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. If
Was it after the battle?
I think it was before.
I don't even remember anymore. It's amazing how
Yeah,
like, the
because
6
they...
weeks,
Yeah. Well, okay, so my one big complaint... I've got several complaints. My first big complaint was that Arya's thing went nowhere. And the second thing is, I think one of the best things this story did was make Jaime Lannister from a horrible, wretched villain.
He's an asshole from the first season.
But he got to a point where he was pretty okay.
Well, are you
really
familiar
did.
with wrestling?
Yeah, like the concept of a heel?
Look, heel and babyface?
Yeah.
Well, they did a classic, and they did it later on they did it later on with Cersei.
Okay.
I thought you saw it coming, but so there's 2 different ways in wrestling they do where they take a heel character. Usually wrestlers, they start off as a heel, like when they want to build someone up. You start off as a heel, and then you make them into a babyface. And sometimes they do it in comics too. They did that with Venom. Venom was Spider-Man's villain.
Right.
And they're like, we're going to make him a lethal protector. So they started babyfacing him. And I could always see it coming when it shifts. When they do something to the villain to like make you feel some kind of sympathy.
Sure.
Something happens to them. You already start to feel sympathy. You humanize them. And then they start to get humbled. And they do something. And then start doing good deeds.
Right.
So like the babyface, usually a villain, what they'll do in wrestling is you got the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the villain, let's say he's like in a tag team, his partner will like turn on him.
Okay.
Hit him with a chair.
Right.
He's beating him. He's beating Macho Man's being taken down. Macho Man was a bad guy, and they baby faced him.
Right.
I remember this as a kid, and you start to and you feel it's so stupid how all it takes. What did they do to Jamie? Jamie was a fucking asshole. He was an asshole. They cut his fucking hand off, and right there, once they cut his hand off,
he's snapping into a Slim Jim.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, and he's teaming up with Hulk Hogan. No, but the thing is, it could have done one thing they do too in wrestling. They'll make him a heel again, like it's like a swerve. It's like, oh, you're gonna feel bad for me, and they did that with Cersei in season 5 when she brings the. See, the one thing I liked about Game of Thrones. I think someone I know made some reference about like politics. Like they didn't like all the politics in season 8. Like Game of Thrones has always been about politics.
That's the entirety of the show.
What's his name? The Lannisters, the father.
Tywin.
Tywin. I mean, he was like a fucking biggest politician.
Yeah, well, they all were. That's why Ned died,
every-
because he wasn't a good politician.
Right. He wasn't.
Right?
Littlefinger fucked him over, and like, what was that? The bald guy, the eunuch guy,
Varys.
He was like, Ned Stark was a noble man. But yeah, he was too good for that land. He was too good. He could not play the Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Littlefinger was a scumbag. He knew how to play
and
it.
He did, yeah.
And then he got played in the end too.
And all of them, yeah.
Yeah, they all... So, the one thing that I remember... So, when Tyrion's killed by Tyrion...
Yes.
Tywin's killed by Tyrion.
Right, crossbowed.
Well,
Yeah.
Tywin was a dick then.
Right. Well, Tywin probably should have had that. We need to talk about Tyrion talk.
Well, I like that he died taking a shit.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. He was sitting on the toilet.
Right.
He was literally sitting on a throne.
Yes. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Tyrion killed him. I thought that was great. But the one thing I liked about it too was it reminded me of like Breaking Bad. When you the one thing about Breaking Bad was, and I think it's camp before Breaking Bad's. I don't know the timeline, but do you remember? Did you watch Breaking Bad?
I did.
Okay, so you remember when he kills Gus in the end of season 4?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, he blows him up
and his head. Yeah, in the room. Right. Yes.
Well, and he's just his whole thing was to kill him, and that character Mike was like, okay, well, you just killed him, but he had a structure that he built. That he set up for it took him 10, 20 years to set up this structure. And the whole time he's trying to tell Walter White, you have to follow this structure or you're going to fail. Gus figured out a system. You got to pay this guy off. You got to pay this guy.
Right.
And Walter White was too over. He was
Yeah,
too arrogant. Everything came to him very fast. He was just like, fuck it. I'll just kill him. I'll have him kill. And what does he do? He makes a deal with the Nazis.
Oh, yeah.
And then they screw him over because he made a fucking deal. I loved it. Like, and again, had a baby face, a villain. How do you make Walter White, who was evil by season 4? How do you babyface him?
Yeah.
You bring Nazis
Introduce
in.
Nazis.
Okay, so what did they do when Tywin dies? Cersei is
Right.
kind of like now in charge because Jaime's off to like he already had his hand cut off. He's like baby faced, and he's staying baby faced. He's not. He's not ever coming back to being a bad guy.
Not until the end, but yes.
No, he never is a bad guy again.
He left Brienne and then went
Well,
to.
I mean, but he's not on a level of bad guy like he was in the first season.
Right.
He did a little jerky thing, but he wasn't like he was not a bad guy anymore.
Okay,
he was not what
he's
not season 1 Jaime. He fought the White Walkers. He was the only except for Tyrion, he was the only Lannister to be there and actually fight the White Walkers. So what has happened with Cersei when she? I always thought this was great. It's like the same comparison. Remember the Sparrows?
Yes.
She's so obsessed with getting rid of. She hated that girl, the one that was marrying her. It was that family.
Not Marguerite.
Marjorie.
It was something like that. Yeah.
And then it was the old lady from the Avengers.
Right.
Show the Avengers.
Yeah.
With the grandma and
right.
It was that family. She fucking hated them. She wanted to just do away with them. So what does she do? She makes a deal with the insane cult.
Mm-hmm.
There's parables to everything.
Right.
They're the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
No, they're the fucking Catholic Church.
Yeah, this was like his dark material.
Tywin knew how to run the show, even though he wasn't the king. He was running everything. He was like Joffrey's hand. Joffrey was just shooting prostitutes with crossbows. He was like 12. He was in that fucking inbred little shit. Tywin knew how to deal with things, and the one thing he knew was do not let the fucking cult take power. And Cersei,
she was short-sighted,
and it's just like with Walter White, where he makes a deal with the Nazis to get. I'm going to use these guys as a short way to kill everybody, so I don't deal with the stuff that Gus. I'm not going to follow what Gus did. I'm my own guy. Yeah. I beat him. Why am I going to just keep doing? I want all the money. And Cersei's like, I want all the power. I don't want to deal with them. So she makes a fucking deal with the Sparrows,
right?
Which I thought was really great. And then what happens? They fight. They're crazy. They're like, well, you're a fucking, you had an incestual relationship because the whole thing was she turned in the gay brother, Marguerite's gay brother,
right?
And then she turned
Sir Laurel.
Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah,
that was great. Sir Laurel and Sir Hardy.
The Knight of Flowers, right?
Yeah,
that was what it was called.
That's so weird. Really? He was the Knights of Flowers, the gay guy?
I think so, yeah. The Knight of Flowers.
He literally was a florist.
Yeah. Well, okay, so
yeah. So she makes this deal with them. So they torture her, and then they do that whole shame thing.
Yes.
And so you think they're baby facing her because they're doing what they did to Jaime.
Though.
Well, no, but you feel sympathy for her.
Sure.
Because she's like, you want her to get revenge. You do. Against those people, yes. Well, just in general, but she's just like, she's evil. What does she do in the end of season 6?
Is that when she
blows them all up?
Right. Yeah.
She gets
with the green fire.
The green fire.
Greek fire is what they call it, yeah.
What?
Or, they don't call it Greek fire.
Green fire?
It was green. It was that. Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
but it was Greek fire.
They used it in the battle of the second season is like a great battle.
Yeah.
Where Robert Baratheon's brother, he's the one with the red lady.
Yeah.
He wants to invade. He wants to take over because he should have been.
He
should have been. He was next in line.
True.
The Lannisters stole the king. You know, well, because even though no one knew there was an incestual relationship, because Joffrey was not Robert's son,
right?
So if they could just get that out there, Ned was smart. Instead of he kept it quiet. He still had the opportunity before his head was chopped off. He had the opportunity to say,
that's not an heir.
That's not an heir, but he was too, I don't know why he protected her. He was stupid. He should have if he just said, listen, that little shit is an inbred, that's not, they would have been ran out of fucking town.
True. Yeah.
So, Like what I was saying about the Cersei thing is, like I said, you think they're baby facing her like they do with Jamie.
Right, but
she just comes out stone cold evil, and she's wearing that like dress in the end.
Yeah,
she looks like fucking like a Disney villainess,
right? Like Maleficent or something.
Like you see that outfit, and you're like, she's up to no good.
She's.
I don't know. I just thought that was like an interesting thing with like the politics and like Tywin, even though he was a bastard, he knew how to run that town. He was the one making deals with the Iron Bank. And, like, Cersei didn't have a fucking clue.
No.
None of them did. And like I said, I always find that kind of interesting with, like, Walter White. Like, there was, like, the parables of, like, really understanding how power works and, like, how to deal with it and, like, what it actually takes.
Right.
And then there's people who just want it easy, and then they get it, and they're like, oh,
well, it's funny because if you look at the whole scope of the show and all the people that played a role and all the people... Tyrion was the person who strung it all together. He's the one...
He's kind of like, even though, you know, he's a super rich character, and he's with prostitutes all the time, and he's like a little dwarf character.
Yeah.
He's the imp, and he's like... He's still like, almost like he's your eyes, and that's why they use him in
the show,
as like... do you remember that was another good way to like, where you don't have the budget to a battle, where he has to, it's like episode 8 or 9.
Oh, yeah.
He gets hit in the head. He
gets knocked off
and
the
he wakes
horse,
up and the battle's over.
Right, yeah.
And I think they got some criticism of that, but like, listen, we don't have the money for that.
Right.
We don't have...
He, in the show, he kind of acts as the eyes of the audience. And he's the one who successfully wields power throughout the entire series. He's the only one who really...
He's the hand twice. He's the hand for Joffrey. He smacks him in the face.
Yep.
He's the one that, like, basically, he protects the city in that, I think it's Blackwater, whatever that major battle was. It's like I said, when Robert Baratheon's brother comes to invade, he is the one that saves the city. But then, like, because Cersei and Joffrey are assholes, that guy cuts him in the face.
Right.
I know I said we were going to bring up the books, but I remember he gets his nose cut off in the books.
Yes.
They just give him, like, a little scar.
Yeah,
probably for the best.
Well, in the books, he's a very different. He's a much like Peter Dinklage is a good looking guy, and he's
beautiful.
Well, in the books, he's
definitely more of a
very
like he's like
like a devilish character.
He's like a Hoggle from Labyrinth.
Well, I'll tell you in both Jesus in both the and I'm not gonna but Tyrion is never good nor bad. Right, like
he's not.
He starts out bad-ish.
Well, he's bad because he's a Lannister,
right?
And he's then, like sleeping with prostitutes, and he's kind of a little. He's like a spoiled rich brat,
right?
You know, and
he actually starts out kind of like Tony Stark at his worst, you know.
Yeah.
And then he gradually gets better, and he's the one that kind of strings it all together, you know? Like, he's the one that kind of sees...
And you root for him. You don't want him...
Right.
I'm glad that in the end of the show he didn't die.
Right, yeah.
I know everybody... So season 8, everybody had, like, a place. So, like, the big swerve in season 1, because everybody says, like, oh, this show's subverting your...
Right, expectations.
I'm so sick of that line. If I hear anybody say that again, I'm going to be like, fuck off.
Right.
Your opinion now is invalidated. Like... The show from the get-go was all about that. Ned, the main star of the show,
big name actor,
billed as the main star.
Sean Bean.
It'd be like if you did have Breaking Bad and you killed him in the first season, and now you just got like the rest of the cast. And
it was like Janet Leigh in Psycho, you know, where she got killed like early in the movie.
Right. It's always marketed. I didn't even know that because I never really saw the movie. I always thought she was in the whole thing, and I realized she was killed like halfway through.
Yeah, and that was like she was the big name actress, but it's a similar dynamic in like that. That was very shocking.
Well, it's not just that. They kill him off. They killed Khal Drogo.
Yep.
So you introduced
Aquaman.
to Dany. Yeah, Aquaman.
Yep.
Yeah, you introduced to Dany, who's the heir to Targaryen. Or
right,
whatever.
the previous king that had gone mad.
Yeah, and Jaime killed him.
And the king, he was... They kind of lost track of that as the series went on, but the notion that he was a kingslayer was really...
Well, they would call him that all the time, and he thought he did it for villainous reasons. But after his hand's cut off, and he's with Brienne, and he has like that moment in the bathtub.
Yeah,
he did it for good reasons.
Absolutely,
he wanted to like blow up the city.
Well, with
that green fire shit.
Yeah. Well, it's ironic too because
he planted it everywhere in the city.
Essentially, Jon Snow became a Kingslayer at the end of the last season.
Or a queen.
Yeah, exactly. He became like a Jaime Lannister type of character. And people always struggled with that. Like, he broke his oath. Jaime Lannister swore an oath to protect the king. He was the king's guard.
Yeah.
You know? And he killed the king, which was like the most worst violation of your oath you could ever make. But he did it for like pretty good reasons.
Well, he saved the city.
He saved everyone.
Saved
Jon Snow did the same thing. He swore, Savior of the universe. Jon Snow
Savior
swore.
Westeros.
Oh, that would have been better.
Yeah.
Jon Snow swore to obey Daenerys, but then he gutted her because she was.
Which turned
terrible.
to Hitler.
Yeah, she was awful.
I mean, but everyone. Okay, so everybody's like, this came out of nowhere.
Right.
I'm like, no, this did not come out of nowhere. She was brutal from the get go.
Burned people to death and crucified people every 3 or 4 days.
And the only reason why is because you thought she was doing good.
Oh, she was super pretty.
And she's super pretty. She's cute. She's like 3 feet tall.
Yes.
And
she's got dragons.
She got
She's
dragons,
like the total
but she was supposedly saving slaves, even though they were kind of like indebted to her.
Sure.
And she thought she was on this noble quest. But I'm sorry, but like around season 4 or 5, you start seeing how she's acting, and she's like in the first 2-3 seasons. Like the first season, she's kind of sold off to be this barbarian's wife,
right?
And the guy's like kind of like raping her, sort of like it's not very
100%. But yeah, so
he's not gentle or whatever. But then that woman teaches her how to like take control of him.
Yes,
and then like. And she does fall in love with him, and then he dies.
Yeah.
And it's crazy too, because like Ned dies, and then he dies, and he gives this crazy like speech in his language where he's talking about how he's gonna like mount the horse, or
the horse is like the world.
Horse of the world. He's gonna mount it with his
and the weird part was only the fish understood what he was saying, which was just kind of. I'm kidding.
Right? Yeah, that's an Aquaman joke, guys. I thought you were making a Conan the Barbarian.
No,
he was Conan too.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, you don't remember that? Because no one saw that movie.
They remade Conan?
Yeah, and he was Conan. And he looked great. He looked like Conan. He looked more like Conan than like Schwarzenegger. Like.
All right, I so want to talk about Conan, but I'm going to refrain.
Yeah, let's go back.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are introduced to this guy. You think he's going to be the shit. And he literally gets killed by a paper cut.
That is true.
He gets to a fight with the guy, and the guy like nicks him on the chest. I know it gets like infected or whatever.
Sure.
He literally gets taken out like he doesn't get taken out like the character you think he would.
Right.
And then that witch. I like what the witch says to her in the end. The woman that she like tricks. her.
Yeah.
She basically tricks her to like because she was pregnant. She basically uses. She basically kills the baby, saying I'm going to bring him back or something.
It's like blood magic. Yeah.
Yeah, but then. I guess was he a zombie or something when she brought him back, or like he wasn't really back?
They brought Aquaman back, but he wasn't right. It was like Pet Cemetery brought back, right? And so Danny insisted on it, and she's like, "Don't do this," and she's like, "Do it," and the woman's like, "This is going to turn out bad," and Danny's like, Khaleesi or whatever she used to call herself. And the woman's like, okay. And then she brought him back, and he's like a zombie. Yeah. And then they did it. And then Danny had a kid, and it was apparently like Rosemary's Baby, kind of horrible, right? And they said it didn't. Well, yeah.
The theory was that she was part dragon.
Well, I told you. I read on the Twitters, and it was a very compelling tweet, that the theory was that the way the show made it look is like the blood magic made the kid bad, and that's why it all went to hell.
Yeah.
But there was a theory that was saying Danny is literally a dragon, and that her kid also is part dragon, and they mistook the dragon kid for being whatever, and they smothered.
Well, I like what the lady says to her when she's like, "Oh, am I supposed to feel bad for him? He was a rapist and a murderer. He would have kept on raping and murdering, and his son would have done the same thing. So you know what? I don't feel bad." So then she burns her alive and everything.
Right.
It's kind of weird. Remember, she's given these eggs.
Yeah, the 3 eggs from
the East. But they were like petrified or something.
Yeah.
These eggs, like they were not like they were just almost like here's some stones.
They were like decoration. Yeah, it was like like a decoration.
No one thought anything of it. And who gave it to them?
Right. So I read about this oddly enough in the Washington Post this morning. They did a 13 unanswered questions from Game of Thrones.
Very important news.
And one of right, like. Meanwhile, Ben
Carson
mistook REOs for Oreo cookies, but okay,
because he's a moron,
right? But at the same time, there's some.
Not that I knew what REO is, but I also don't run HUD.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like I stay in my lane, okay? Yeah. So they were talking about like that was one of the big unanswered questions.
A good parable to how Cersei fucked everything up when she.
Well, look.
Okay,
at the very beginning of let's go back to season 1 of the show. The Starks stumble across dire wolves, supernatural creatures, and Dany stumbles across dragon eggs.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of the world was set into motion by these things that just sort of happened,
And they represented, the wolves represented the Starks, and the and the dragons obviously represent the Targaryens.
Right.
So, okay, so we're going to skip through the show, blah, 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 blah. Last season. Yep. Okay. Let's just Okay, so I don't even remember the first episode anymore. So the end of the last season I thought was pretty good. I know some people complain about it, but I liked that
was good.
They had to and again, it's like all this setup. They do so much. The biggest failure of the season.
A lot of place setting, yeah.
The biggest failure of this season, and that drives, and I don't care. Like they made such a big deal about the ice. The
Ice King, yeah.
The Ice King,
Night.
And the White Walkers, and what the fuck they were, and all this stuff, and they didn't explain anything.
Yeah.
They just killed them off. They had that big battle. I remember everybody was complaining you couldn't fucking see anything. The lighting was really bad. You had to bump. I remember bumping up the brightness on my screen. Yeah, because I was like, I can't make shit out of anything.
I recently was replaying Resident Evil 7 on my Xbox. And I bumped the brightness up a lot because I like to be able to see in the shadows.
Yeah.
I know that's kind of cheating, but... So I didn't have any problem watching the episode, but it was only because...
super dark.
I had recently jacked up my TV.
Everything they do in that episode is so dumb. Okay, so you got these Ice Kings. You got these White Walkers coming.
Sure.
And you have 2 fucking dragons.
2 dragons.
What do they do? The Red Lady comes, lights up the swords.
That was a beautiful scene.
Yeah, it's a beautiful scene, but then they go off and the Thrakis, they're like the first to go.
Yeah. They're cannon fodder.
Which is whatever, I'm not even going to get into it.
I think there's a element there that warrants discussion. I mean, it was kind of a class thing, hey,
savage, put the savages in the front.
Yeah,
we'll just put you in the front. It's like a South Park episode. And a South Park movie.
I'll tell you, I mean, if we jump to the very last episode where Sam is like, hey, maybe we should try democracy, and everyone's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, maybe I should ask my horse.
Right.
But the joke is they ended up, instead they have electoral college.
Yeah, well, it is kind of a federal system at the end, not like a direct democracy.
Well, it is a great, okay, so like I said, that episode, I hated it. So, I don't remember the first episode too much of season 6 anymore. It's I almost feel like I have to go back and rewatch it. I don't feel like much happened. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe something big happened in the beginning of the first season.
Yeah.
But the second season's all about everybody kind of just reminiscing, getting drunk, having sex, doing all these things, all these little plots, all these people culminating together.
Yes.
Jamie shows up. He sees Bran. He's like, "Sorry, I pushed you out window."
Yeah.
Bran's like, "It's fine.
It's all good.
I'm a fucking...
I'm a raven.
I'm a raven." And he's like, what?
I thought that scene was okay.
It's fine.
Look, and that's, I guess, I'm jumping back to my complaint. It really seemed like Jamie, over the years, had kind of earned his redemption, and there was, a nice little cathartic moment where he both apologizes to Bran, and Bran's like, look, that's why we're all where we're supposed to be.
Yeah,
and then
cool, man.
He does it with Bran, and it's okay, now he's like that, and then he offers to fight alongside Brienne, and he helps knight her.
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of awesome things, and then I
gotta go and be with my bitch.
I gotta go with my sister because I'm wicked. It was
he's not wicked. The thing is, it's what he says in the first season. The things he do for love. That's his love. I mean, he loved Brienne, but he loved his sister
and then
more.
He says to
and he wanted to be with her.
Tyrion,
and I guess he knew that she was going to die.
When Tyrion frees him, he says, like, I never cared about the common folk. Or so, he says something to that effect, where he's like, I never gave a damn about the poor people.
Who said that?
Jamie said.
Well, why would he? I mean, even though he's baby-faced.
So
and
why did
good,
he become good briefly? Was he just trying
he's
on for
always
size?
Okay,
or?
he's still good, but he's still of his class. Why would he? He could still do things that are good deeds. He's still himself. He's not like.
But does he just realize, like, I was born a shitty person, I did a lot of shitty things, so I should die a shitty person? I mean, like, what? Why?
I don't know. I mean, that didn't bother me. I didn't mind that he went back to his sister. I kind of knew that was going to happen. How they were taken out. Like, I didn't like how Cersei was this season. She was pretty useless.
Didn't you?
She's not like she was a fighter. I didn't expect her to pull a sword out.
Didn't you want her to have, like, a horrible death or, like,
No. I honestly did.
Their death happened off camera.
I didn't mind how she died. I honestly did that. That did not bother me. That she was crushed to death. Honestly, it's almost like that's what she deserves.
Yeah.
She doesn't deserve anything better than that. She doesn't deserve to be like stabbed by Arya, dressed as like fucking the Mountain, and she takes the mask off. I'm not the Mountain. I'm actually a little tiny Arya.
Awesome.
That would have been awesome.
That's a better ending.
Yeah, like I've been Arya the whole time. What?
Right.
You know.
Arya comes back as Tommen. And she's like, oh, Tom. The kid that jumped off the ledge, one of her sons.
Oh, yeah. That would have been awesome.
Right.
How would she got
like,
that mask, though? People would be like, how'd she get the mask?
Right.
It's all rotted.
Yeah. Well, okay, so look, who was the bad guy? In the entirety of the series, who's the bad guy?
Dany. When people think that they see
Dany's
her turn,
yeah.
you see her turn in the end. She kills everybody because she's killing people. How is this? The whole series, she's killing slave traders.
Right.
She's killing. You think she's a good guy. It's like the line from Dark Knight where she said, "Where like live long enough and you become the villain."
Yeah.
If you're a rock star or you're some kind of like celebrity or you're kind of someone or a politician that does good causes in the beginning, and then you get in power and you stick around too long,
right?
And your ways are old, and then you're the villain now. And you're not good because you didn't move at the times or whatever, or you're not.
Yeah,
you're
no,
rich
that's real
now.
true. That is real true.
But the thing with her was, you think she's good the whole time because she's doing things that you think are good, but they all were to service her. So when you feel pity for her because she was on the run, she was like constantly they were trying to kill her.
Well,
and
she was a kid.
She was abused, and she was like, you see these things, so it's like I think people are like placing I don't know how to say this. It's like almost like she's a victim.
Yeah.
Because she's a victim, or even though she's like overcomes it, you feel like you have empathy for her, so you think she's good, but in reality, she's not good. She's burning people to a crisp.
She was never good. Her dad was a horrible tyrant.
He was an insane. Okay. He was literally a bad king.
And then she and her brother fled. And her brother tried to pawn her off so he'd get back to the throne.
Yeah, he was
going to rape her and not
personally,
but
right.
He was going to pawn her off.
When he gets the crown.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was awesome. Khal Drogo's like, here's your crown,
right.
and melts his fucking head. That was
awesome. Then she gets it in her head like, I deserve to rule the world.
Well, also,
like, what makes you think that, Dany? Like,
well,
why do you?
The other thing too is that her, like, as the show goes on. She shows up, she's got the dragons. When you thought the White Walkers were the main villain, she's good. She's got the weapons that can stick. She's part of the thing. Okay, we could win this. We have this lady that has these 3 fucking powerful nuclear missiles, basically.
Yeah.
Flying nuclear.
Well, they were the only. She was the only power with air support.
Yeah, she was multiple airplanes.
Right.
Everything was boats.
There was 3 airplanes on the planet, and she had them.
Yeah. That could rain nuclear fire.
Mm-hmm.
And you had the White Walkers as this unstoppable, cold, heartless, no emotions. Parables like global warming, all these things.
Well,
this thing that's going to end the world. Everyone's got to team up and stop it, and Dany does is great. So again, you see her as a good guy,
right,
and it makes sense because everybody in that moment was a good guy.
Yes.
Everybody. And that third episode when they're fighting the White Walkers, if you were fighting the White Walkers...
Yes, you were on the good team.
You were on the good team because you were on the team of the living.
Right, yeah.
Everyone still had some agendas. Of course, Cersei's a bitch. She doesn't send any... My apologies to bitches. It's an evil, wicked women.
Well, she doesn't...
it's like she's like, I'm gonna let them do everything.
Well,
I'm not gonna send anybody to
It's
help.
a smart move.
It's a smart move. It's also, it reminds me of again, it's politics.
Yes.
It's like, you know.
Well, that's what the Game of Thrones is politics. Like that's what
power.
that phrase means.
I mean, that's like, again, not to get political, but it's like, you know, I see this every time. It's like they say, like, Democrats and Republicans. Like,
yeah, sure.
Republicans Republicans fuck everything up. Democrats come in, they fix it. Then Republicans sit down the back.
Yeah.
And then they take over, and then it's like tax cut season again.
Right. Yeah.
And then they fuck everything up again, and it's just like the same thing. And
they did that. That was the Iron Bank in the show. Is like every time something happened, the Lannisters was like, "We're going to borrow money from the Iron Bank." And like, what do you think is going to happen when Bran the Broken is king of Westeros? The Iron Bank is going to come up to him and say like, "Hey, you know,
the Iron Bank even exist anymore?"
Yeah, the Iron Bank had nothing to do with Westeros.
Well,
they were like overseas.
Didn't they have their own army that basically Dany like just eviscerated with her dragon?
Oh, I think you were thinking of the Slavers. No,
I'm talking about season
the Iron
episode.
Bank.
Iron Bank, they have like their own army that was helping Cersei out, and that it was like supposedly it was going to be elephants involved,
right.
But they didn't.
The Golden Company.
Yeah. Wasn't that part of the Iron Bank?
No, that was just like part. That was Cersei borrowed money from the Iron Bank to hire the Golden Company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they supposedly had elephants, but they were like, "No, we're not going to make elephants, because it's too expensive."
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, okay, you know what drove me nuts too? Okay, so episode 4.
Okay.
When it's like the aftermath of the big battle, and like they're like, okay, now it's time to go to Westeros. We're gonna take over, you know.
Right.
And we got 2 dragons because the other one was killed and taken over by the Ice King. So you have 2 dragons. John's like, I'm not gonna ride this dragon. So, and then you had that guy, the pirate dude, whatever his fucking name is, the Iron Fleet guy.
Yeah, Euron Greyjoy.
That guy sucked.
Yes, he was a dick.
Yeah, he was a dick. He was definitely. I liked how like when Joffrey died, they're like, wow, he was like the worst villain.
Right.
What are they gonna do? And then there was like, don't worry,
how can we out-dick him?
And they had that guy.
Right. Euron's like, hold my beer.
Not Euron. That other guy, the Battle of the Bastards guy, the one who was.
Oh, Roose Bolton. Not Roose Bolton. Ramsay Bolton.
That guy was the most evil fucking cat. I hated that actor.
The guy who got dog bit.
Yeah, that guy. I hated everything about him. Like everything when he taled, everything.
Yeah.
He was evil from the start.
Yep.
When he like cuts Theon's dick off and he's like torturing him right from the get. He like sets him. I always felt bad for Theon. So like Theon, like did he ever really do anything wrong?
Yes, he backstabbed the Starks.
But did he know he was even doing it? He was fully aware.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take that back then because I always thought he was manipulated and used by Ramsay, and Ramsay tricked him, and then he ended up torturing him.
He was manipulated and kind of used, but he knew what he was doing. I mean, he was like, I'm gonna backstab the Starks, and after he did that, that's when Ramsay came on as Reek.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, Ramsay's like, oh, wait, I'm Ramsay Bolton, now you're Reek, to Theon.
Oh, he pretended to be Reek?
Yeah, Ramsay Bolton was Reek originally.
Oh.
And then, Reek was like a different character from like way back.
Yeah.
But Ramsay Bolton pretended...
Doesn't sound like a good name to have.
No.
I'm Reek.
Yeah, they said he had like some disease that made him smell bad.
Yeah.
Right,
well,
so anyway,
his name's Reek.
Yeah.
It's like my name's diarrhea.
Yeah, but Theon paid for his sins. I mean, by any account, like Theon earned his redemption back,
right.
And by the time they got to the end of it, he died protecting Bran.
Well, Bran was like, "Yeah,
right,
you're good.
You're a good man." And then, right?
Like, what the fuck was Bran doing the whole time during that Ice King battle?
I think Bran is like representative of a lot of the problems with the show in that. It didn't seem earned. I know we keep coming back to this.
I didn't mind him being king in the end. When they make him the king in the end, I was like, okay, you know what? That makes sense. He's a perfect peacetime king.
Yes,
it's like the Pope we have now. You want this guy. You've had some issues with the Catholic. There's still issues. There's a lot of issues. That last one was horrible. The one that left.
Benedict.
He didn't even die. He's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here because
Palpatine.
I got like 8 boys in my dungeon. I got to go rape or something.
He even looked kind of like Palpatine.
He did. He looked like fucking Palpatine. And it was and he was a fucking Nazi.
How do you quit?
He was
he literal Nazi.
He was a Nazi.
That's a tough one. Like how?
That's a tough one.
It is. Like
yeah.
Like he was a Nazi.
He was a Nazi youth.
Right.
There's like footage of him dressed as a little Nazi youth.
And like I get that probably there were some Nazi youths that were like just sort of like
the Cub Scouts.
Right. But you don't got to make him Pope, right? Like
no, don't make the Nazi the guy who's a Nazi the Pope.
You can say like it's okay that happened and it's not really your fault. Okay. Well, like, look, I don't know how old you were as a Nazi youth, but let's say...
I was never a Nazi youth.
No, not you, but let's say
okay,
there's a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old,
right.
And the parent is like...
He wasn't 5, he was like 15 or something.
I take that back.
Yeah.
All right.
He was Hitler.
Regardless.
Okay, right.
So...
But you have this Pope now, and it's like, he's the perfect Pope for the time being at the moment. Bran is the perfect choice. I know people are complaining and saying that, and I'm like, no, Bran is the perfect choice.
Well, he can't have kids.
And I love that tweet going around where it's like, what about what Sansa said that he doesn't have a dick?
His dick is broken.
Yeah. Bran's just like,
it does make sense because like that was the beauty of Tyrion's plan is that like look. This isn't democracy, like fucking idiot Sam is suggesting.
Sam was just ahead of his time.
He was a little ahead of his time.
He's a libertine. He does not belong in this world.
No.
Because he makes all kinds of suggestions throughout the show. He brings up a thing like where he comes up with a way, like when he wants to get that girl that he ends up with in the end, his wife or whatever she is.
I forget her name. Yeah.
He like comes up with this funny way of like, you can sleep with women or be with somebody as long as you don't do this. Yeah. Like Sam's the first lawyer of this or something. Like,
well, look. So it comes up with like a nice ending, and one of the key features of Tyrion's plan is like, look, Bran's dick is broken. He's not going to have kids, and so we're going to meet back here in like 20 years or whatever, whenever Bran passes away. And the noble families will come to an agreement again.
Yeah,
it's always going to be a king's moot. Like that's the
no more lineage, the problems of the past, and that's why I liked the way it ended. Even as all the fuck ups and everything, we'll go back and revisit the fuck ups in a second. But the way it ended, I thought was great. Ned Stark should have been. I mean, not Ned Stark, Jon Snow.
Yep.
Or the fuck, Jon Targaryen or Jon Stark, whatever it is.
Aemon.
Should he have been king? I mean, in a perfect world, yes, he should have been king. He should have been the one that reaped all the rewards. He was the one that saved the world.
And he was a good man.
And he was an honorable man, just like Ned.
Yes.
He meant well, even when... But he is... The way I see this, the way I saw this and how they were doing it, was that it's... The whole show is a war from the first episode, right when Ned's head's cut off, or right when Robert is murdered or killed by a boar, even though he's murdered. He's assassinated.
Right.
It was a setup. The war starts there. So the whole show is a war, and now war is over. We need it's rebuilding time.
Yeah.
Bran is the perfect. He has nothing to gain. He doesn't even want it.
Well,
now the issue people have with Bran though is that they're saying is that he knew everything. That he would end up being king because he knows everything.
Right.
So the whole time he's just like. But is it like remember Endgame? When Doctor Strange is like, listen, I can't tell you.
Right.
It ain't going to happen. But
I see what you mean.
But then I guess what? It was like, if I don't tell you, then I don't get to be king.
It's a weird one. Look, I guess I don't have a huge problem with Bran being king.
I don't mind him being king. I guess it's just the whole, him knowing everything is
before we did this, you and I talked about our predictions. What episode did we talk about our predictions on?
I don't know.
We talked briefly about our predictions. I remember we recorded it. It's on a recent episode.
Okay.
And I said, my theory was that no one would wind up on the Iron Throne. And
that dragon made sure of it.
Right.
Dragon hates monarchies.
He hates thrones.
I don't like thrones. I think, now here's the thing. I think the dragon was not like, no one gets the throne. I'm going to blow it up. I think he was just spraying fire everywhere. It's just the camera showed emphasis of him blowing up. And then people are like, well, how come he didn't kill Jon? It's like, well, because Jon is a Targaryen.
Yes. Well, he smells Jon. Right?
Yeah, he knows Jon.
Yeah.
Didn't Jon write him?
Yes.
He wrote that. He rode that dragon.
Yeah. My
Ride
pony.
that donkey,
Right.
ride that donkey.
So
that's a song.
That's
a real song.
I think the dragon knew the significance of the throne. It seemed real clear to me. And
I would imagine these dragons, as big and dumb as people say that, they're probably a lot smarter. They're like dolphins. Or something,
exactly.
Right?
In a lot of like fantasy literature, dragons are very smart.
I worked with a guy.
Yes.
Who all day would just sit at his desk and roll a fat blunt.
Okay.
This was when I worked at Trauma.
Yeah,
so it was my
yeah.
whole job. And
Right.
they hired. He was like supposed to be this great artist, or whatever.
Sure.
He never did anything. He never did anything. But he spent a good 30 minutes rolling up a fat
Right.
joint.
Okay.
And I'd watch him. It's like a craftsman. This joint running. And I don't know if he was high yet, or getting high, or I'm sure he was high already.
Sure.
Yeah, he definitely had a morning joint. Before
Exactly. He probably came high.
He definitely came high, and he left high. But he said to me about dragons, because I like comics, I like sci-fi stuff, and I appreciate like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Played a couple times. I'm not super familiar with it.
Right.
I don't really care for I don't get super far into it. But he told me in his like really high voice. He's like dragons are. I can't even say it. It's so funny. The way he told to me, it was like so magical. He's like, dragons are smart. They're poets, writers, they're philosophers. I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is a fucking dragon.
You write that all day.
Yeah, like, dude, let me smoke some of that so I can get on that. Hey, right. Dragons are poets.
Pass the Gucci on the left.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yo, man, let me get a hit of that so I can get on that level of what a dragon is. But he was actually in all of his. Really was he was right. Like that dragons are supposed to be like.
I'll bet he was.
Like Smaug.
Oh yeah, Smaug. Yeah,
he
was
smart,
very
and
clever.
he sounded like Doctor Strange,
right?
Because that was the same voice. Smaug.
Right.
Sound like he's smoking too.
Right.
He's like smoking a big fat joint. He's like Bilbo.
Well,
I'm a philosopher. I'm a writer.
They are the dragons. They're Achilles' heel is supposed to be their greed or whatever, but they're supposed to be very intelligent and yet.
No, right? Don't they eat gold?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, probably.
Sure, why not? They smoke a lot of joints, according to this guy.
Their Achilles' heel is big Philly blunt.
Just sitting there rolling a big fat blunt. This dragon is not. He's not a poet, poet laureate, or whatever the fuck they.
Up until this,
pothead was telling me.
Look, you know the dragons love Dany. You know that she calls herself the mother of dragons, so you get the sense that there's some sort of familial relationship there. But that last scene,
and he was like the alpha of the dragons.
Yes,
the one that lived,
right?
The only one.
Here's the dragon that lived.
Well, he's definitely highlighted throughout the series.
Yes.
He's one that saves Dany in multiple situations, like when there's the rebellion with all the people with the golden masks.
Yes,
like the Tea Party, as I like to call it, the
right.
Tea Party people that were turning on her.
Look, one of the cool things about the dragon is at the end, and this is what I really loved about, and this isn't my own original thought. I read it, but I felt it when I watched it. They ended this show not with like, oh, there's going to be a sequel. But you ended knowing that the story would go on. You know what I mean?
Most shows usually they go on.
Well, not Breaking Bad. Walter died. Spoiler alert. Yeah. There's plenty of shows where
they're making a movie.
No, it's true. But there's plenty of shows where it's got a pretty definitive ending. I mean, I guess Sopranos didn't, but
it's the worst ending ever.
Well, in my
everyone
mind,
talks about. I don't know what happened. I don't care. Nothing happened. I felt nothing in the end. I'd say this: even if the show, like people were like saying, Lost was bad.
Right. Oh, Lost was bad.
But I still thought about it after.
Yeah.
It did an effective job. Even if they left a lot of holes, just like Game of Thrones, they didn't explain things. I hate how that works. I still cared about the characters in the end.
True. Okay.
So the show is still a success. When you don't give a fuck in the end, the show doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Dexter's a horrible ending. You watch Dexter?
That's the worst.
Dexter's the worst ending ever.
It's crap.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, honestly, Dexter
It
really
wasn't
only had
great.
Well, Dexter had 2 really good seasons: season 1
The mechanics of that
and
show
season
didn't work.
4.
Yeah.
They made a lot of dumb choices. It's kind of a hard thing to do, like 8 episodes. Having to do like 13 episodes. I don't know. It gets old real quick. You know, but like the ending was so stupid. Like, I guess in the end he was supposed to die, but like Showtime wanted left open that one day because Dexter was a big property and it was a big license.
It was at the time, yeah.
Yeah, they were selling like T-shirts and toys and everything. Yeah, plush. Dexter plushies are my favorite. Yeah, stabbies. Little dark passengers.
Yeah, little ologies.
That's my favorite. Hey kids, get your dark passenger.
Well, I'll tell you, the thing I loved about the ending of Game of Thrones is, like, okay, well, Bran is like, I'm going to go see if I can track down that dragon. And you don't know where the dragon's going. The dragon's taking Dany
There's
ostensibly to the
theories
eastern
that
lands.
she would be the new Ice Queen. That he's taken her.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll
and
buy
then
that.
she becomes the new Ice.
Sure.
She literally is an Ice Queen.
Yeah, right. Well, look, and then Arya is going off to deliver smallpox-infested blankets to
Arya the Explorer is
Right,
going off to be
that's-
Christopher Columbus.
That was perfect.
And then the little drawing I did.
Yeah.
Arya the
That
Explorer.
was so good. And
You can see that on my Instagram, Rob Israel.
Yeah, well, it's a great picture. And it's like
Just
a
Dora the Explorer
mix.
dressed up and Arya merged together.
Yeah, but she has her little backpack
Yep.
and stuff. Like,
Yep.
backpack,
And
backpack.
Needle.
Yeah. So it's like I don't love that just because of the implications of it, but it's a
fine.
perfect
Just pretend that.
And
do that.
okay, so
John ends up where he's supposed to. You know what? He always those were his people. Were the people beyond
the free
wall.
folk.
The free folk. Those were his people. They really were.
Do you get the idea? Because I still don't know the answer, and I Googled it and I Reddited it.
Yeah.
And I never care. Okay, so John gets sent to the wall, and the idea is that he's going to reinstate the Black Guard or what the Black.
The Crows, or what they're called.
Whatever. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
gonna.
Well, the thing is, okay. So the plot is like, Grey Worm is like, I want justice.
right.
You know, everything's kind of stupid. Like, there's
But
a lot of dumb things in that scene. Like, you know, when like Tyrion's telling him like you don't have a say. I think like Grey Worm would be like, I do have a fucking say. I got a whole fucking army over here. We'll
Tyrion's
fight you.
point. I agree with you. I thought that initially, but like Tyrion's point was like, you're not a king, right? Like you're.
But at
king.
that point, who the fuck cares?
Because
if I was Grey Worm and a whole city collapsed, and you had a nuclear bomb base, a nuclear bomb went off.
Right.
Who the fuck cares who the king is anymore?
Because those
things don't mean shit anymore.
The whole assumption of authority. Look, there's only 2 ways you can get power, right? You can take it by force, right?
Yeah.
And by might.
Yep.
Or you can take it via consent. You
Yeah.
know, like everyone agrees that you're going to be the leader.
Right.
And they quickly deal with the force thing because Sansa says, "Look, we got enough guys out back that can take on your guys. And we may not win, but it's going to be a battle. And look, you don't have... This isn't a sure thing, Grey Worm. You're not in charge here by force. There's other factors." And so Tyrion is saying, like, look, the only reason you're pissed is because you believe that your legitimate claim to the throne was violated.
Yeah.
And so... There's ostensibly...
Or your queen was
right.
the woman that freed you, the woman that made you a person, basically.
So there's ostensibly...
The one you idolize and...
Exactly, but there's ostensibly a line of secession that rules go by, or we're going to come up with a new agreement. And your little claim is to being angry about shit. That doesn't matter at all. It's not for you to say. You don't have a voice in this.
I guess. I just think that, like, there's a lot of things that are kind of stupid about it. You know, you got the beginning of the show, of the episode, you got Grey Worm and them killing people.
Grey Worm. Wouldn't you fucking ask Danny for a new name? Like, at some point.
How about Caterpillar Man? I'm the Black Caterpillar. Mothman.
Mothman.
I am now the butterfly.
Or like Ted or something.
Ted,
whatever.
Yeah. Ted Worm. Ted Worm, how you doing?
Lowly Worm.
Well, I'm not gonna say that. Big Worm.
Big Worm. Okay, so, but it all makes sense.
Hey, so what was up with Grey Worm? They were like,
he left. He's
hold on.
Okay.
So, did he not have a dick, or did
He
he
didn't have
not
a
have
dick.
balls?
I think
Because then there's that scene when Sansa, or what was the girl that got killed, got her head cut off? The one that Grey Worm fell in love with, and she was
not
Dany's best friend.
Melisandre.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
They're talking to her and something like that, and they're like, "Does he have the Pillar of the Stones?"
Right.
They don't. Not that this doesn't. This is not important.
No.
I just don't know what they do to these guys.
I thought they got their balls cut off.
That would make sense.
Right.
Usually that's what they would do because you don't want you to.
You need to urinate, right? Yeah.
Okay, that's
okay.
Go ahead and get that out of the way. Just want to make sure. I remember when I was a kid. You ever see the movie? No, going on a whole eunuch thing now. Do you remember the movie The Last Emperor of China?
Yeah.
I remember.
Was Christian Bale in that as a small kid?
You're thinking that's Empire of the Sun.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
this
sorry.
is an older movie. This came out a couple years before that. Last Emperor of China. All the slaves were eunuchs.
Yes.
And I was a kid when I saw that, and I said, I don't know what that is.
Right.
I'm watching a movie.
Yeah.
That's for adults.
And this is pre-Google, right?
Yes, it's pre-Google. So I had my parents to tell me what it was.
Right. What'd they say?
They said that their balls were cut off.
Oh.
And because all the men were kind of high pitched voices.
Right.
Which essentially that's not true. They wouldn't all be
No, but that's where the opera form castrato.
Castratos, yeah. But they were all eunuchs.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what the fuck? I didn't know what it was. But all the basically everyone that was a permanent slave to the emperor or whatever, they were all eunuchs. So
right.
I guess that's what Grey Worm was. So all right.
Well, look, so at the very end, they're all right. Aside from some balls missing, it was such a cool. I love the ending in the sense that you got the idea that things would go on, Tyrion would be sitting at the table talking to these people. Oh, that's what I meant to ask you. Is Jon Snow. He got sent to the wall, back to the wall to go lead the take the Black.
He's not though. He's when he left.
Did they abandon the wall?
There is no. I mean, what's the point? There's nothing.
Well, that's the thing. It's initially
they showed the plant coming out of the snow.
Right. Yeah, they did.
It's melting when there is. So I have a question. So after the battle scene and
I have another question, but go ahead.
Okay, Jon is about to confront Dany, and the dragon comes out. Was that ash or snow?
I thought it was ash. I thought it was.
But it looks like snow. Everything
right,
I'm did winter come for a minute to Westeros?
I
just
thought
a second.
I'm
or
almost
King's Landing?
positive
It
was
looked like
ash.
winter came.
I think it was supposed to be how every once in a while
it looked like winter. It didn't look like ash.
But no one was
that dragon
shivering,
get
and you
under all
didn't see
that
people's breath, and
yeah, I guess.
oh, that was a great scene though when the dragon. I thought that was such a beautiful scene when Jon walks up, and there's a lump of ash, and then the dragon wakes up he's been sleep, and he smells Jon, and he lets him pass.
Yeah.
What a beautiful scene that was.
Like I said, the show is amazing, and my God, the people who worked on it did an amazing job. There's just a lot of little holes that don't.
Do you know people that watched only the last episode?
No.
My wife watched a few episodes. My wife, she only watched a couple episodes. Never read the books. She watched the last episode, and a friend of mine, Brittany, watched the last episode only.
Britney Spears?
No. I
okay.
wish I could count her as a friend. But so my wife's complaint was that there was not a lot of talking in the end. And she wanted, and here's the thing: is
she didn't watch the show.
Exactly. She needed and I read a lot. If you looked on Twitter and there's a lot of people that only watched the last episode, just kind of like a Super Bowl event. But so much of that last episode,
Seinfeld.
It was
a long narrative structure.
Okay, but when you see Tyrion say, I'm going to go find my brother and sister, and Jon Snow say, I'm going to send some people with you, and he says, no, I'm going to do it alone. And then you see Tyrion walking down the road, and he looks up at the Red Keep, and then he and so much in my mind and in your mind, who's watched the show the whole time through, so much story is being filled in. That's such great filmmaking.
People are how did he find him so quick? Well, I think wasn't that kind of like a known escape route that they only
Yeah, that was the
so that made sense. And
yeah, made perfect
a little
sense.
golden hand was sticking out.
Well, and other
He had
people,
a freaking shiny
I read that
golden hand that
complaint.
sticking out of the rock. Like,
I read
that's
that
my brother.
complaint in the Washington Post article today. Someone said, like, well, they could have just stood 20 feet to the right and been safe, you know? Sure, whatever. But, like, yes,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
Everybody's
the idea was,
fucking
like,
expert.
the Red Keep was supposed to be the safe place. That was, and when Tyrion is, like, looking at the Red Keep, it's so tall and imposing and kind of alien looking and militaristic, but it's like their grave too. And there's just so much, like in my mind, and that's, I think, the big payoff for people like me and you, or people who watch the whole show, because so much happened in my head when I watched that 3-minute sequence. No dialogue.
Yeah.
No words, no anything, just a little bit of incidental
You
music.
knew what it was.
I knew what it was.
You didn't need to have it explained.
Yeah.
I like Brienne filling out. I know people were like complaining about this. So like, why does she have to do that? It made sense. She finished his story because he did good deeds. It ends with like almost like if you ended it there, he is like Jaime from the first season, and he's not Jaime that does all the good deeds. So she does all these things. You know,
well, that was the beautiful part. Like at the end,
she doesn't know how to finish it.
Well, and the people and Tyrion is like, well, what did they say about me? And they're like, they didn't really mention
why
you.
though. I don't get
because
that.
I thought that was so beautiful, and I meant to say this earlier. We talked about this like a half hour ago.
Yeah, I remember that part. I'm like,
because he was the most instrumental person in the entire thing, and he was not recorded by history. And I think that's what they're saying about like modern day politics. Like, the people that really
behind the scenes people,
they're the behind the scenes people.
Whereas Trump will call them the deep state.
Right. They
it's like,
never
what's the deep state? It's people that are not elected.
Right.
Which is good. Because they're there to work, and they work there when you don't have
get
some,
shit done,
a crazy asshole or you have a
right.
good person there. The machine still moves.
When we read about the revolution today, the American Revolution, we'll read about like George Washington and Ben Franklin. They had an important part, sure. They were big deals. But there was like a whole bunch of like people that were like hanging out with Ben, saying like, "Hey Ben, you know what? Fucking, you don't gotta listen to these fucking limeys. You gotta do this, you know." And
no offense to the line,
right? Well, yes, but like that was the thing, you know. Like and Tyrion was completely forgotten.
I get, but he's a hand.
He was oblivious.
He's a hand, though.
Who was the Secretary of State for like
that gets recorded? That gets recorded in history. No, I'm sorry.
It does, but who knows it?
Well, it doesn't matter. He's just someone mentioned.
Yeah,
that's complete horseshit. He should have been mentioned. He's instrumental in a lot of things.
Yeah, but that was the point. Is like the real movers and shakers, the real people that did things. They're going to be forgotten.
Well, it's like when people say like they elect a president, and I'm always like telling people, I'm like, okay, you're not really electing a president. You're electing
an apparatus.
An apparatus. Yeah. You're electing like who or she. Hopefully, she at some point. Who are they going to bring in? Who are they going to bring in? And that's what matters. It's like they're just a vessel. They're a cipher or whatever.
Well, that's it. You're not voting for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. You're voting for like Merrick Garland or Andrew,
fucking
the serial rapist, fucking Kavanaugh.
Dracula. You're voting for You're voting for a system. When people say
you're voting for a system,
like they do. They mean, and they're very different, and they're so different. Stop this bullshit, you know.
Well,
I don't know which one I can have a beer with. Well, you know what? Yeah, right? Guess what? There's a lot of people they bring with them. Right. I'm sure one of the people they bring with them, you can drink a beer. You'll have a beer with fucking John Frank.
John Snow. Well, that's the thing is that I thought it was really cool. Personally, I thought it was really cool that the people that really make history are the ones that aren't remembered.
Well, that's the thing. That's what makes Trump dangerous. When he says he attacks things like the deep state, it's like he's trying to destroy the system that runs it.
Fuck him. I'm not going to let him ruin my Game of Thrones. And Brienne writing Jaime's obituary or her history, that was perfect because like we do remember these characters only for, and she whitewashed.
There's no YouTube.
Jaime.
There's no Facebook.
Right.
So this book is all people going to remember Jaime by.
Right. And so she gave Jaime like a real nice whitewash. And
in the last sentence.
Yes. So that worked. Now here, and I keep meaning to ask this. you think that Jon Snow abandoned the wall and he's going to go live among the free folk?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think there
There's
is
no
no
wall.
wall. I think I mean, what the fuck is Grey Worm know? Like,
Yeah.
he's gonna go live on an island somewhere. Like, they're like, listen, John's not gonna be king.
Right.
Okay, I'm happy. All right. Later.
Yeah.
And then Jon Snow's like,
Well,
I'll do what the fuck I want.
here's the thing:
And
is
he's
like,
with his people.
and
you
that
know?
was.
And
I
he
mean,
pet the dog.
Yeah,
Man, that's
that
all
was
that matters.
adorable.
That was the best.
Little guy.
Talk about subverting expectations.
Right.
You know, everybody
Well-
was complaining. Why don't you pet the dog? You know why? Because it costs a lot of money now.
Well, that's
to
what
get
they
the fucking
said. They
CGI
said
dog.
that the original-
You want him riding a dragon? You want him petting
Yeah.
a stupid dog?
right. Well, I like that he hooked up with Ghost at the end. But
yeah,
here,
we made out with him. That was
yeah.
great.
Well, what about, remember Arya's wolf just went rogue and we never really heard
Well,
from her
because she
again.
went rogue. It represents.
Yeah.
It's like a good representation of her.
It is.
Because they
Went into the wild.
Like they
Yeah.
long time difference. So when they run into each other, that's a great scene. It's like because the
It is.
wolf
It's
remembered
beautiful.
her, and it's like those videos you see where like a lion
Yes,
cub
yes.
remembers, and
I've
you think that
watched
lion's
it.
gonna
Oh, I'm a sucker
gonna
for that.
just fucking just
Right.
fillet that guy, and
Right.
instead they hug, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's bullshit. I don't
No,
trust those.
I
No, I don't
100%
trust those
believe
videos.
that.
I don't trust.
I do.
No, I don't
I
trust
believe
those videos. No way. No way.
Yeah.
I don't trust even with my dog Snoopy at home. No way. That's horseshit.
Well, okay, so
But whatever.
I loved the ending in the sense that I got the feeling like life would go on.
John became he became himself when he was with the free folk.
Yeah.
When he went beyond the wall and was with them, even though he was like a spy. That's when he discovered himself.
Oh, yeah.
That's when he
was most at home.
That's when he met that lady.
Egret or whatever her
the,
name was.
The real love of his
Yes,
life or
right.
whatever. The lady who says
You
don't
know
know
nothing.
anything. Yeah, and kind of in a way he does because he was too good and he was too trustworthy.
Yes.
So he would fall for schemers and liars,
Right.
and he always was doing the right thing. Hey, listen, there's this ice king coming.
Yeah.
I don't get over your politics, get over your shit.
Right.
We gotta stop this thing. And that he was the hero. I mean, the guy fucking died. He came back. Tyrion says to him like,
Yeah,
when
right. You're the only
sense
one
of death, like you're the one who died. And Tyrion, and I loved it because he's just like
Nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
It's like I just took a long nap and then I woke up and I didn't realize where I was.
It's crazy. Yeah.
There's a lot of people. Oh, so one of the complaints, one of my friends brought up, they said the biggest complaint they had, and this is my issue, is that this is what happens when something's so big, and the powers that be are like, you're not going to answer all these questions in this series because we want a prequel series. We want like 8 series. This machine is too big to die.
Right.
We want to milk this fucking horse.
They do.
And they're going to freaking get the milk cow, not a horse.
Well.
We're going to milk this cow. We're going to milk this fucking cow until it has nothing left. So, Lord of Light, what's the other one? White Walkers, like what they are and everything. You'll learn about that in the prequel series.
Right.
They're gonna make you wait on that. They need that subscription money. Like they're not gonna. I was like annoyed. I was annoyed about the White Walkers, the way they died, and ended up not being about them in the end.
Right.
You built them up so much.
Well,
and
yes.
But the Lord of Light thing, I'm like, listen, you know what? I'm fine with not knowing 100% of what that is.
Yeah,
it's fine. Like
I'll tell you that you needed the White Walkers. You needed the White Walkers to make Dany's forces and Jon's and the Starks
and you knew
together.
Cersei was an asshole and she wasn't going to join them because she was an asshole.
But you needed like
she's the Mitch McConnell.
The White Walkers, the White Walkers were a ticking clock. They were a MacGuffin in the way that they kind of kept.
It was a cop out.
Yeah,
it did suck. I didn't care that Arya was the one that killed her. I didn't care about any of that stuff. Like people were like, I don't like that Arya was the one who did it.
Well, I didn't
mind it. It makes sense.
The idea was that like there was that prophecy where it was like you'll close brown eyes, blue eyes, and green eyes. And, like, she never really did that. There's a lot of shit that I have problems with.
Okay, so she gets on this horse in the end of the last episode.
And then the horse is gone, and
she's just like, next scene, she's like, I don't know, that horse was a dick. Kicked me off.
Well, I read...
Like, how do you fuck that up?
Some people were saying that the horse was Bran, that Bran had warged into the horse to get her out of there. That was, like, there's a lot of, like, theories that were, like, much cooler.
Can the animal talk when Bran's, like, the horse? He's like,
oh, yeah.
I gotta go now.
Well,
I'm gonna go now back to my wheelchair.
look, here's the. I guess, and I mentioned this earlier before, and we're kind of all over the place by this point.
Really?
But well, that's kind of the problem with the ending. Okay, so the White Walkers were bad guys, and Danny was a bad guy.
In the end, she was a
And
bad guy. Not when
Siri-
the White Walkers. Not when
Right.
the White Walkers were there.
No.
When the White Walkers. I mean, they're sowing the seeds. They're already sowing the seeds. When she finds out that he's the really one for the throne, and she's like losing her footing. She doesn't have the influence. She doesn't have the ability to get these people to like her. She's just the lady with the dragons.
Yeah.
They use her. She felt used. You know, there's like a lot of scenes that, like, when people are like, when she's sitting up top and the bell rings.
Yeah.
There's so much things going in her mind. And I'm like, listen, you know, I'm not shocked she did this.
No,
because
me neither.
Her family built that city, too. It's her family that did it.
Built this city.
Yeah, but they did.
Right. But not on rock and roll.
No,
they built it on like
blood
hellfire,
tears and
right?
all kinds of. But they're the ones that built. They ran. That family ran it for like what's.
Well, the family's crazy. They inbred.
Yeah, well,
and they were
all
like,
of them do it. So of course she's gonna fucking lose it, and she's like, you know, and again she sees. I mean, yeah, she could just flew right to Cersei and just blew that shit up. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's kind of fucked up. I like too that you don't. Once she does that.
Yeah.
You don't see her anymore. You just see the shadow of the dragon just raining fire on people. It's like done. It's very well done. It's like it's just this like evil like machine, and like you don't see. It's not human anymore. You don't see this human like it's like a drone.
Well, it was exactly.
Did you see that meme?
Which one?
It said like this bothers you, and it was like
I
the
did
dragon,
see that.
and then it was a picture of a drone that says, "But this doesn't."
Yeah. Well, it is weird. There was like an undercurrent in, and it didn't pop up often, but like the idea that like these stupid lords and ladies were playing this Game of Thrones, but the people fucked over were the common folk. And
that's always how it goes.
Yeah, it is. But
it's like
Tyrion,
when we were talking about Snowpiercer.
Yes, Tyrion would say that every once in a while. He would say like, you know, this is really the common folk are being fucked over.
Well, what's his face was always about the realm, the bald guy, the one who
Varys,
the one who wants to expose her. I guess he writes a letter. I don't know who he's writing it to.
Yeah,
and he gets caught, and she lights him on fire. That's in the beginning of the episode, so you already know right from the beginning.
Yeah,
like I mean, when she says to Sam, without even like
emotion, I killed your family.
I killed your family, huh?
Yeah,
and Sam's just like.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and he looked really devil. The actor who played him, I don't know who it is,
Sam.
Sam. He did it so well because like you could see his face crumble. You know, like,
and she's just like, I'm the queen.
Yeah.
This is what I do. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what. I'm not shocked this happened.
No,
this was not like this out of nowhere thing. Was it excessive? Yes, but at the same time, it's like. What do you expect?
Well, there's this great quote. I think it's Camus said it, where he said, "The slave begins by demanding freedom and ends by demanding a crown," or something to that effect. And it wasn't like it wasn't in relation to American slavery or the institution of slavery, but it was the idea that like that was Dany's path. Like she began with a righteous cause. You know, she really did.
It's like that thing. You're the hero and you become the villain.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah. Well, you're right. It's exactly what
But that doesn't make an excuse for the villains to get away with it in the end.
Yeah.
It's just that it's just like this unending cycle. So that's why Bran being the king in the end is great, because it's like
not bad.
He has no real as far as we know, he has no real agenda. They just build it up, and I think it was Patton Oswalt tweeted a bunch of funny things. He said that like. The ending with everybody sitting on the table and it's super boring.
Yeah.
So guess what? That's how government should be.
Right.
This boring, like, who's the biggest wasted character in season 8? The most wasted character.
Well, I'd say Cersei, but it's probably not. But
Bronn.
Oh yeah.
What a fucking waste. Okay, so Bronn shows up. Well, he shows up in one scene, and they're like, "We're gonna pay you to kill Tyrion and Jaime or whatever."
Yeah.
He shows up. Is it after or before the Ice King is there?
I don't
know. Remember. And he like punches.
Oh yeah.
That's it. I think it's after. It's after the Ice King because
He's an odd one. Yeah, he
shows up and he's like, and then he disappears. And he does nothing, and then all of a sudden he's the master of coin.
Yeah.
Why would you make him the master? Okay, another thing too is Grey Worm.
Yeah.
Why would you not make him master of war?
Well, they did. They tried to. They offered him the veil,
What?
and then remember, didn't they say to Grey Worm like, "There's good land here. Your people can make a go at it," and
Yeah.
he's like, "Fuck y'all," and then he's like, "We're sailing for
the land that his girlfriend
came from."
Yeah.
But I think Bronn only got the veil because Grey Worm declined it. I'm probably wrong on that, but anyway.
But they didn't have a master of war, and they didn't have they didn't have some positions yet.
Someone
And
said that
Brand's
Bronn really won the Game of Thrones because he got legitimized and he sacrificed nothing. Everyone lost someone except Bronn.
Well, I mean,
Name one character aside from Bronn that didn't lose someone and made out okay.
you mean Bronn lost nobody?
Bronn lost no one.
Hodor.
Hodor died.
Well, he lost Hodor.
Well, but
What do
Bronn,
you mean? What do you mean? Like
the character Bronn, the
Yeah.
mercenary guy, like he didn't lose anyone.
oh, I'm thinking Bran.
Oh yeah, right.
Sorry, I'm mixing Bronn with Bran.
Yeah, but Bronn lost no one.
Well, Bronn gives that great speech in the beginning where he goes, you know, how these people come in. Some bastard comes along and kills a whole bunch of people. You kill like 100 people, you become a lord. You kill thousands of people, you become a king.
Right.
And then you have kids, and they're bastards. So who gives a shit about the system?
Well,
He brings up a good point, and he's saying like, why should I respect you guys? You're just the son of a bastard.
But that's what he said too. At the same time, he's like, you got all of you noble lords. You used to be like fucking rogues and pirates and brigands and
there's
whatever.
This documentary I saw years ago. Mm-hmm. It was about rich kids, and it's kind of funny because like Ivanka Trump's in it. It's this great documentary.
I heard about this, but I didn't see it.
It's like really rich kids. Right. I don't know why Ivanka Trump is in there because remember Trump's
right.
No, he has money.
Well,
but not like. But this was
he
like,
had not wasted all his dad's money yet at that point, right?
So these are like super rich kids. They're like we're talking like lineage to like
generational
Rockefellers
wealth.
and like we're talking like people who built Grand Central Station.
Right.
And like they're talking, and then they interview like one guy, and he's talking about how his family. He was raised pretty modest.
Right.
That one day, the parents take him to like Grand Central Station and are like, "Yeah, you like kind of own this." And he's like, "What?"
Right.
So, but one of them brings up a good point and says like his great 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 grandfather was like a fucking pirate and mercenary.
Yeah,
piece
basically.
of shit.
Well, like look at Prescott Bush or whatever. I mean, a lot of these people like.
Yeah, he's fucking hanging out dealing with the Nazis.
We're like running arms. So like a lot. You're right, and I thought that made sense. Like I get like. I think it's surprising that Bronn, Bronn, made it to be Master of Coin simply because like that was a pretty progressive move on Tyrion's part. But I think Tyrion at the end.
Well, he felt like he owed him something, but at the same time.
Well, and he was practical. He's like, look, this motherfucker is going to keep trying to kill me unless I give him something. And like, right? Because like the guy's like a boomerang, always coming back to like kill him. And he's like, look, I'm going to bring you on board, and you're pretty good and resourceful and whatever. And all of them made perfect sense. Like Sam is the new Maester.
Yeah, he's wearing that outfit. Like,
Perfect.
why does he have to wear that outfit?
And
there's no reason to wear that fucking
Brienne is the
outfit,
leader
man.
of the Kingsguard.
Yeah.
Perfect sense.
I love the original guy in that outfit because he would pretend to be this like feeble old man.
Yeah.
But he was like totally not. They show him. It was like in the end of like the first season or something when he gets up and he thinks he's this like feeble old man and he's standing up straight and he's just like. He's like fucking moving around really fast, and then he's going to like whorehouses.
Yeah.
He was like a total like he just played this like role of like I'm just an old wise man.
Right.
Like that'd be great if Sam just ends up turning into that like just a
Well,
piece of shit.
You had Brienne as the Kingsguard, and you had Bronn as the Master of Coin, and who else was there? Was anyone else there?
That guy with the missing fingers.
Ravos?
Wavos? I don't know what's fucking
Davos.
Davos.
Yes. Right, he was the Master of Ships.
Yeah.
Right. And
they didn't have some positions.
Right, and they're going to fill them, and then it was such a great scene. It was like Bran leaves, and they're all like, brand and then they're like, this will get better, and he's like, I'm sure it will, and it was like,
I know everything, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it was like such a cool thing because you're like, man,
I'll go take over that dragon and blow up the city.
Well,
it's because I'm a funny little brand.
But it was like I could totally see this show going on for years, and it won't. But that's okay.
It's
but
like last episode of Seinfeld when they go to jail.
Yeah. Well, no. But there's like some shows, and I'm drawing a blank on it now, clearly. But like there's some shows where you're like, oh, this is. It'll go on forever like this, and that's good. And that's like a good kind of comforting thing.
They're not dead all along.
Well, like there's so many stories left to be told. They got to rebuild, and they've got like a lot of shit to do, and there's threats still out there.
It's so funny. Everybody was like, I don't know what people wanted. I know a lot of people died in the show. So did everybody expect every character to die on this show?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. People were complaining about the White Walker. Like I said, that was a big disappointment. That was the biggest disappointment.
You needed them to move the story along, but they ultimately served no purpose.
It was a cop-out. Like, they didn't explain a lot of things. There was just, like, a couple of things. They could have just explained a couple of fucking things.
Yeah.
Could have just said, well, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
He could have just said, man, bad.
Right.
Ice King.
Well, the idea was, like, the Green Seers summoned them to get rid of the invaders, like when the, and that was it's kind of an odd
people.
It's an odd parallel because look, at the very end, Arya leaves Westeros to go west, which is kind of a great parallel to Lord of the Rings. Like we're gonna go west. That's like a symbolic death. It's like the end of the show. We're gonna go west, and you get the idea that she's gonna discover these uncharted countries or whatever, and that's how this shit all started. Well, look, when people came to Westeros, then that's when the Green Seers they had originally lived there, and when Man came to Westeros, the Green Seers were like, fuck this shit, and they called on the White Walkers, and the White Walkers were battling so you would presume that when Arya goes west and discovers a new land, she's going to discover an Aboriginal people, and they're going to call on their own White Walkers, and this shit's all going to play out wherever Arya lands, right? Like, that's the idea. It's like, this all started because Westeros was colonized by Man, and I did a little air quotes. You can't see that on the podcast. But
by Man.
By Man. But,
crunch, feel those fingers bend.
Right, but that's the idea. Is that it's kind of like circular in that sense.
So there was all these theories about the White Walkers and all these theories about who created the wall and that Bran. So Bran, when he goes back in time, and then he sees the king in the past.
Bran the Builder.
Bran the Broken.
Well, wasn't the king he saw in the past Bran the Builder?
The one who built the wall.
Right, yeah.
Bob the Builder, the TV show Bob.
Right, I thought that was
Bob
Bran. I thought that's who he was. I thought that was like another odd
little
parallel.
kids cartoon.
We can do it.
Yeah, the Bob burning the built whatever, and then the Ice King kind of grabs his hand, and it's funny because he has a scar.
Right, they get linked that way psychically.
So the whole time he's the one who brings him there.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't know. Everything was just I just feel like there was a lot set up and very little return, and it almost felt kind of like how Lost was too.
Yeah,
where Lost ended, and their whole bullshit was, well, it wasn't really all about the convoluted stories that were never explained. It was all about the characters. And in the end, too, that's kind of, I feel like, how Game of Thrones ended. It was there's all this shit with the White Walkers and all this mystical crap, and none of it got explained right. They kind of just literally just had Arya come in. They really did half-ass it. I mean, the characters that didn't die, that should have died, had what they call plot armor. It was ridiculous. Well, and then they got that out of the way, and then they just went off and did their other things, and then it became about the characters again and the politics that the characters had.
Right.
But I don't know. I really thought what was going to happen was that the way the last episode of season 7, when they go to King's Landing with the zombie,
right,
and they show him it, and the thing comes out of the box, and they're like, "What the fuck?" What the fuck is that? And Cersei's just like, I don't care.
Right.
I'm gonna let them deal with it, and I'm just gonna wait. And I really thought what was going to happen is that the Cersei shit would be the beginning of season. All the Cersei stuff was going to be taken care of in season 7,
and the end would be the White Walkers,
and everything would be about the White Walkers in the end, because that's real. When you think it's all about the stupid throne, but in reality, it was all about just keeping humanity alive and this unstoppable force.
That would have made more sense.
And instead, but the big twist in the end,
it was Dany the whole time.
Was that Dany was the bad guy the whole time, which is not a bad thing. It's just. Again, it's like the complaint
was weird,
it felt rushed, but at the same time, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, look, I guess I'm going to come back to our Star Wars prequels test. Do I feel better living in a world with Game of Thrones? I do. I'm glad. Look.
I mean, it's a great show. Listen, I was trying to bring up in the first season was how it grew. The special effects were movie quality, better than most movies.
If someone asked,
better and better every season.
If someone asked me today, "Hey, should I watch it?" I'm going to say yes,
unequivocally. Up the ante on TV shows. I mean, the dragon was probably the best dragon I ever seen in anything.
Oh yeah,
the detail, the amount of detail on that
way it
dragon,
moves, its fluidity,
everything. And did they do some lighting effects to get it to look real? Maybe. I don't know.
Who cares?
Maybe in 50 years I'll look at it and be like, well, one, I'll probably want good eyesight because I'll be an old cretin.
Well,
but 10 years from now, I'll look at it, it's like the CGI. I'm like, it's pretty fucking amazing.
It's pretty good.
The show got better, special effects wise, budget wise. I mean, honestly, they could have HBO could have been like, they could have went on the cheap on some things, and they gave you everything. The giants look good. Whenever they had a giant in there. I will say they kind of never delivered on the direwolves too much. I feel like the direwolves were definitely, from what the books, we were talking about the books.
Right.
From what I heard, the direwolves are much more powerful in the books.
Well, and we'll kind of wrap this up now, I guess. But I will return to the books. Yeah, I think that's one of the critical problems is that you cannot. If anybody's ever read a book, one of these books, it's going to be tough to translate it because the books were told in kind of an omniscient, often we're told in a third person omniscient point of view where you know what the characters are thinking, right? So when you see Ned Stark doing shit, you know what's in Ned Stark's head, and in the show you can't really tell what's in Ned Stark's head. And in the books, you get a sense of what's in Arya's head, and in the show, you don't know what's in Arya's head. Yeah. You're an observer.
Yeah.
And it's a different animal, So the books were always the show was always at a disadvantage from the book because it couldn't do that.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that exposition from the character, him or herself, just because that'd be a shitty way to do a show.
Yeah.
It's
you lose your audience.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing, we'll wrap this up quick or soon. One thing I always liked, and again, how a show grows is look at season 1 in that scene when it's when the mountain loses the night thing, and then he was the Hound at the point. What's his name?
Sir
Gregor's the bad guy. What's the Hound's name? Oh man,
Sandor Clegane.
Okay, when he
is Gregor the bad one? Well, anyway,
Gregor is the bad one.
Gregor's the bad one, and Sandor is the good one.
Yes. Funny thing is that actor was played by 3 different actors throughout the series.
Yeah.
The guy who plays him
in
the first one looks, and when they would recast people, my God, they would do the worst job. They would get people. The guy who played the mountain in the first one looks like an old, he's big.
Yeah.
But he looks like an old man. And the other guy they got was the biggest bodybuilder in the world or something. And he looks nothing like the first season one. Regards. Do you remember the Dany meets this kind of rogue guy that
Dario.
Do you remember what he's introduced in the end of season 2 or 3 and he's with 2 other thieves and he kills them to show and it's this long blonde haired man,
right, and then
season 4 it's a totally different and I didn't even know it was the same character,
right?
It
I
took
get
me
that, yeah.
all episode to figure out. I'm like, oh shit, it's that guy.
Right.
I was like, what? Like that's,
Yeah, I'm forgiving of that.
no, I'm forgetting too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I always find it funny, but to go back to it. So look at season 1, talking about quality and how, like, people don't realize when you say, like, the world's better, or, like, this is what you deserve.
For sure.
If they could have they never had to put as much as they did. Look at that first episode when they confront each other in a smaller set, and they have this little battle sword fight, and it's just like a little tease of what's to come. The Mountain versus Littlefinger's telling Sansa. It's like one day they're gonna have this epic battle,
right?
But not right now. It's just gonna be a couple clangs, and then they're gonna get pushed aside, and they hate each other. These brothers, you know, he's the one who burned him, and then how does it end? While Danny is blowing up the city, they have this epic battle in the end, and it's revealed.
That's funny,
It looks like Darth Vader under that. Yeah, I always thought that was kind of funny. I mean, like, look at how the show has grown.
Yeah,
how epic it was. Like in the last episode of season 7, it's kind of funny, you know, when they show that scene with Captain America near the end, when he's standing there,
right,
and Thanos is coming and all them, and it's just Captain America by himself. That scene reminded me of the end of season 7,
right,
when they show the wall. And you see the clouds.
Oh,
and you see the Ice King's about to come.
Right.
And it looks very similar.
That's funny, yeah.
And it's beautiful. And it's just a fucking show on cable. Like, this is not a big budget film.
Right.
And what they've done with it, like when they said, like, I think they said each episode cost $15 million.
Sure.
Man, they got their money's worth.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That show was beautiful.
It
God.
was.
Like I said, you look at season 1, and it's like it looks like a modest budget show.
It is. It's small scale, yeah.
I mean, and that's why when people told me, I was like, you know, when the guy told me at work years ago, I was like, yeah, no, this show, like, it gets crazy. By, like, season 2 or 3, you're going to start seeing, like, dragons and wolves.
Well, the world expands.
And the world expands. And I was just like, nah, get the fuck out. And then remember when you first see a giant for the first time in season 3 when John sees a giant?
Yeah.
And I think, like, the first real epic thing the show did was when the King Beyond the Wall, is that his name?
Yeah.
When he tries to invade
Castor,
the wall,
yeah.
and they bring in
right.
It didn't. If you look at it now, it doesn't look as good. The giants, there's 2 of them. They have like a mastodon.
Right.
And I mean, even then, though, I remember watching this. I was like, it's not 100%. It's not
but
great.
It's getting there.
But for TV, this was pretty fucking amazing.
Huh.
And now you look at how it ends, and I'm like, bitch. Shut the fuck up! Stop complaining, dude. Like, I mean, no, and it's not an excuse. There's some bad writing.
No, you're right.
The show was fucking beautiful. They didn't have to do that.
It was good.
They turned it on to 11.
Yeah.
The dial was at 11.
Right. No, I'm with you. Yeah.
Like, that's movie quality. That's something
it was.
Wait in line, reserve your tickets to see. And you didn't have to. You just had to pay your fucking HBO bill, or you stole it, or whatever, or you went over a friend's house.
But you're right. If they had released this as like 7 or 8 different movies, I'd have paid for it and been glad to.
It would never have happened as a movie.
Yeah.
Because they would never be able to get the audience to come and keep paying. I mean, not like the Marvel movies that are like just
right.
Like people just see all these. All right, so we'll leave this at. We're gonna end this in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Best thing, worst thing. Real quick.
What was your best thing?
Well, like I said, I think the battle between the Mountain and the Hound was really good. I really like. I mean, there's a lot of things. The thing again, biggest disappointment is the White Walkers. That's the thing that really got like. That's the thing that really got me in a show. When season 5, when John, like, do you remember when he goes to like, the people beyond the wall?
Yes.
It's already after that battle, and he's like, "Listen, we need to be friends with them." Like, you know, and like the crows were they were turning on him.
Yes.
They were like already like, "What the fuck? You're a sellout. These are our enemies."
Right.
Like, these are the people we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to let these shit.
We're supposed to
They're
kill
shit.
them.
We're not supposed to let them be in. You're like, you don't let them in. And John's like, "No, we're gonna be friends with them." And he goes out there, and I think there was like the Bone, Bones or whatever his name was. I don't know. He ends up getting killed. He's like a joke character.
Yeah.
I think he was a bigger deal in the books or something. But you're introduced to all these people. You introduce this woman that you think is going to be like a love interest to him.
Yes,
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, fucking Night King shows up with all the White Walkers and all the zombies, and they come in this murder. But I remember watching this. I was like, holy shit. That's when the show like went to a next level.
Next level,
season 5. And I was like, my God, this show is fucking amazing. And then when the White Walker's staring down Jon Snow, when Jon Snow is to safety, and he's just staring at him, and I was like, this is literally the best show ever made. So yeah, White Walkers suck. That is the biggest disappointment.
I wish the White Walkers had a bigger role. I wish Arya had like more logical conclusion to her arc.
Again, I think it's one of those.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
No, I don't think it is definitely a dud in that aspect, but it's like how TV shows are, and when they introduce these characters, they're like, okay, well, what are we going to do with Arya this season?
Yeah.
I don't know. Have her go to fucking assassin school and hang out with faceless men. What do we do with Sansa? I don't know. Have her being hardly married to a psychopath. What do we do with Theon? Make him a henchman to the... You know, it's like, cut off his dick and make him a victim to this psychopath. You know, it's like they always have to find... So, problem is... in the end of it, when it gets to the end, it's like, well, they miss things. And that's not an excuse, but...
My best thing was, and I'll throw this out there by saying I do have a lot of problems with how the show ended or the plot points on which the show ended, but I love that last episode. I thought it was perfect in that it was like this real kind of like poignant look at what happens after.
Yeah.
Because the whole last episode only dealt with two things. What happened after Dany got killed.
Yep.
They got to wrap that shit up. And what happens to the kingdom. And they wrapped both of those up. And I didn't like the way a lot of things panned out. I didn't like Bran getting the throne. I didn't like Jon getting dicked over by sent to the wall. There's a bunch of... I didn't like Arya going off to explore.
Yeah, I think that Jon, though, he never was going to be at the wall. He was going to go with his people.
But it all made perfect sense, and I loved the feeling like... here's what I loved. I loved, like, ending it saying, like, they're going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, and I know it's like a stupid thing to say about these fictional characters.
Well, it is, but they do. Everyone's like in their place. They're going to be okay. There's going to be confrontations and stuff.
Right.
But like they also, it's like circular too, because like the way the first episode begins with Beyond the Wall, and then it ends with Beyond the Wall, and like winter's coming and our winter's ending.
Right. Spring.
I know we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah.
Another complaint. Jon kills Dany.
Right.
Dany is at her most paranoid, most crazy.
Yeah.
She would have no guards with her.
Yeah, well, yeah.
She would have no, Dany dies, no one really hears it. The dragon kills everything, picks up Dany with his foot.
Jon should have just said, away. I don't know what happened. I came in, her body was,
wouldn't Grey Worm, or Ted Worm,
Theodore
Worm, wouldn't he, fucking kill him?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I did hear that.
There's a lot of, there were some jokes people made. They're like, we're going to wait till a bunch of old people old lords show up and sit around in a circle and then tell me I can't do anything about it.
They did, I liked that, how they jumped, there's a bunch of scenes where it kind of faded to black, and Tyrion came out, and you're like, wait a minute, how much time has passed?
Well, his beard was bigger.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
Well, exactly, but you got these, okay, some time has, and I loved kind of being kept off kilter that way, because, I couldn't quite get a beat on when it was. I knew it was, soonish,
it's
but,
a month later.
Yeah, but it was, I thought that was really well done.
Do you like how, when they were sitting in the circle, it was almost like they were in the Roman Colosseum that was destroyed?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you see that, that visual?
The pillars, and
everything was, because they've sit in the circle before, and the Colosseum's there. But now, because of Dany destroying everything, it's just in ruins.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool. I'll say this to wrap this up. I liked how it ended because it showed, and the reason why, again, why Jon Stark could not be king. Why because it's the old ways are done. We need to move on. It's like that line in Last Jedi, the movie that everyone hates.
Right.
And it's a great line, though.
It's a great line, yeah.
Is when Kylo Ren, after they kill Snoke, and he says, well, Jedi, the Sith, who cares? They'll, let it die.
It's time, yeah. Let's move on.
Let's move on. It's our time.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of, similar.
It was.
We can't, we can't have dinosaurs of the past running the future.
Well, and Tyrion even said that. He said, look, Dany wanted to break the wheel. But we just got to reinvent it. He didn't say that literally, but that Dany kept saying, we're going to break the wheel. And Tyrion is like, we're not going to break the wheel. You know, we're going to change. It's a weird because it's a different message than Snowpiercer.
So the wheel was
the machine. Just
okay.
it
but
was
wasn't
a
it a
figurative.
representation of the wheel? Wasn't it like an actual?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, because in the credits they do show a wheel.
Yeah.
I just figured the wheel was like
just how the thing moves.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the wheel of the universe,
yeah.
the machine.
System. Yeah.
Well, it's like in Snowpiercer, the engine.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to break the engine.
Yeah.
You know, like we're going to break the wheel, or we're going to, and that was it. It's good.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you know what? What did we learn? Doesn't matter.
You know nothing.
Yeah, you know nothing, Joseph K. No matter what you got to find something to bitch about. But you know what? If you're talking about it in the end, and if you're still going on about it,
right?
Like we do.
I love it.
Every episode we go on about it. That must mean something because we wouldn't be talking about it.
No,
we wouldn't be going on about it.
It's a big important part of. This sounds sappy, but it's a big important part of my life. I love the books. I love the show. I'm going to follow this.
I love the cereal.
Yep.
I eat it every day.
The Oreo cookie.
I
don't mean
I know, not the Oreo.
Right, not the Oreo.
I did. They did make
Right.
Oreos, and I
Yes.
did eat them. I did get them.
Right. I think that
They tasted like regular Oreos.
Right. That's probably what confused Ben Carson.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're still going on about that.
Yeah, I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And we're still going on about that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to You Still Going On About That with myself, Rob Israel, and Joseph K. Remember, you can find us on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, CastBox, and Podbean. So remember to like and subscribe, share, comment, leave us a basket of fruit or candy. Thank you for listening. All right, later. Bye.